I am going to get YouTube going here as y'all join. Give me just a minute here while I get YouTube going. All right, YouTube is going. All right, let's share out this live with a bunch of my friends. We are going to be joined today by Life Beyond Belief. As you join, start tapping the screen, sharing out the live, doing all the good things, please. If you are joining me on YouTube, thank you for joining me on YouTube. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube. If you're here right now and you haven't subscribed to my YouTube, the link is in the bio, so if you could do that, that would be great. This is round 2 for me today. Earlier, we talked with Sam, the amazing Sam, and now we're going to talk with Life Beyond Belief. I'm really excited because this couple is amazing. And I think they have a lot to tell us, a lot of stories to share, a lot to learn from them. I'm going to close down my Bejeweled and get my questions up. Yes, I play Bejeweled, okay? I tried to make the divine and the decline a little bit harder than earlier today because y'all were doing too good. So I had to bring out some sneakiness in there. Oh, I need a new subby goal. Help me reach my new goal of 77. I like that number. That's a good number. Yes, I made them harder. Harder, if you will, Tahir. Harder. My mouth is so dry. I feel like it's very, very dry here in Southern California. So that was fun. I had a lot of fun with Sam. She is brilliant. She is beautiful. She's funny. She's smart. And I don't know. I really love doing these shows. If you are a creator in the deconstruction community and you would like to be on Decon Q&A with CrystalJae, hit up my inbox. My DMs are open, or you can contact me through Discord. If you're on, in the Deconstruction Junction, I have a channel in there. You could always tag me there. You can. I try to answer my DMs, but to be honest with you, lately, my DMs have been full of people who want to complain about things, and I don't know, I'm not a complaint box, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, she does make conversations very easy. It was so fun. Yes, haters be hating, for sure. I do have a new gift goal. It is the April blossoms, or whatever the heck those things are. And here is my special guest.
Hey, Crystal.
Hey, how are you, Ken?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having us up. Christina,
Absolutely.
getting the kids down at the moment. She wanted me to jump on, and then she'll be joining us soon.
Okay, that sounds good. What we'll do is we'll just chat for a little bit, and then when she joins us, we'll go into, here's how I do the show. I start out by asking you guys some icebreaker questions, just some fun, light-hearted questions. I pretend that they're, you know, like deep journalistic questions. They are not. That's just not true. But then we will bring up people to ask you questions, and if they, sometimes people are too shy to come up. Thank you, Auntie. So we let them ask in the chat as well, and then I'll read to you any questions I see. We're also live on YouTube. So if there's anybody over on YouTube that has questions, I always try to read out their questions as well. Well,
Awesome.
I thought I was live over on YouTube. I don't know. Can somebody go check for me in chat, like Tahir, somebody, can you tell me if I'm live on YouTube? I'm supposed to be. This thing never works. Hey, Brian, good to see you. So happy that you made it. Let's see. I don't know what's going on with my YouTube. I try to do all the good things. Learning technology is just, it's not
lot.
fair. It is.
You're right.
People need to stop updating it and changing it and just, leave us be. Start making things more user-friendly too. Stop with all the nonsense. Okay. I am live. Okay. I am live, but for some reason I can't find it to do the chat. Why? Do I need to exit all the way out of the app here? Let me try that. Okay. Now let me see if I reopen it, if I can see myself live. There we go. Now that's all I needed to do. That's all I needed to do. There's Kristen. There's Michael. Thank you. Okay, I can see you guys now. So if you guys have questions over on YouTube, please feel free to ask in the chat, and we will read them out to Ken and Christina. Hey, Sang. Thank you for joining over on YouTube. Well, how is your Sunday going so far?
It's going really well. We kind of had a slow day today, and we went to a coffee shop. We went to this really cool kids play area. It's called a children's cafe or something like that.
Oh, how fun!
Coffee set up in a little lounge area, and then all of the trendy, cool toys and things for kids to jump on and play with and all kinds of stuff. So.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, no, we had a good day so far. It's been really fun.
That's really cool. I like that. I have a 1-year-old granddaughter that I hopefully get to see on Mother's Day this year. So I can't wait to take her some places like that and play with her. It'll be fun.
That's so exciting.
My son and his wife are going to be, hopefully, fingers crossed, moving to the Austin area because she's a doctor, and hopefully tomorrow she gets an offer. She went out this weekend for an interview out there, and if so, they'll be purchasing a house, and we're going to go out Mother's Day weekend and help them shop for a house.
Oh, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really excited about that. Hi, Smokelahoma. How are you? Hey, Jeffro. Welcome. You guys keep tapping the screen and sharing out the live. Don't forget to send the heart knees and the team bracelets, because when you send the team gifts, those help move me up in the team rankings, which helps push me out into the algorithm. Thank you, Smokelahoma. Hi, Schley. Hi, Tahir. Everybody's joining us. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate you guys. So after we get done with the questions, then we like to play a game. It's everybody's favorite classic game that I made up. And it's called Divine or Decline. And what I do is I will read to you guys phrases. And if it's from the Bible, it's divine. And if it's from the Quran, the Book of Mormon, or if I made it up, it's decline.
Oh my gosh.
And don't listen, Tahir said everybody is wild, because Tahir, I beg her to come up every time and play with us. I try to get you a little team of people up here so you're not alone. And she hates coming up here to play it.
Oh my gosh.
She's like, no, you're mean, Crystal. I'm sneaky with it. I'm just gonna tell you, I'm sneaky. But last game, you guys did really good. You guys did really good, Tahir. The chat was winning. The panel was winning. I made the questions harder. I know I did this time, just for the fun of it. But
Well, we'll see. We'll see how we do. That sounds like a really, really fun game. We will definitely see how it goes.
yeah. Well, I think it's fun, but then I know all the answers. So
Well, there you go.
You
So
know.
yeah, I get that.
Joel, on the other hand, I love to say this almost every time I do this show. He kind of cussed me out when he was playing.
Oh no. Oh my gosh.
Yet, Life Beyond is very nice to the theists. Very calm people. I, on the other hand, I don't know how much you've seen me live with Joy or not, but they call me Dark Crystal when I'm dealing with the theists. Slay says, hi, Life Beyond.
Hello, hello, hello.
Tahir, so thankful for them. Me too. They're amazing. I don't know if your wife told you like how I met her.
No, I don't think so.
I watched her one time. I didn't know you were a couple. I just thought like that was her account at first,
Yeah.
you know, because I didn't see you yet.
Right.
And so I had been watching her and I was like, oh my gosh, this lady is amazing. I need to tell her about the Discord, you know? So I go, hey, you should join our Discord, Deconstruction Junction. And then a few minutes later, I thought, that sounded like a bot. And so I go, I'm not a bot. I'm like, I'm a real person. Like, you really should join our Discord.
That's so funny.
I was like, oh no, that's going to sound really bad. Like, hey, join our Discord and you could get 500 stocks.
Right. Right. That's so funny. That is so funny. Oh my gosh. Thank y'all so much for the kind words in the comments. Y'all are amazing. Let me get my camera on real quick now that I'm finally
All right.
set up. Here we go.
Hey, DC. So many good people in chat. Kiki, Denise, Jay, you guys welcome in. We are live with Life Beyond Belief.
Y'all see
There's
me okay?
Ken.
Hey. Can y'all hear me okay by chance?
I can hear you perfectly. Can you guys hear him all right in chat? Everything good sound-wise? Hi, T. All right, they're saying, yep, it's good.
Wonderful.
Make sure if you're over on YouTube that you like the live and subscribe to my channel. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet and you're over here on TikTok, the link is in my bio. It's absolutely free to subscribe over on YouTube. And I need to get to 500 subscribers as quickly as possible so we can start monetizing the channel. And I've had people who are asking me, why don't you have super chats enabled? That's because I haven't reached that magic number yet.
We reached 100 last night on our live. We reached 100 subscribers on YouTube. Yeah, so that's exciting.
That's awesome. I just reached 50 subscribers here on TikTok, and then once I did, people started giving them out, and now I'm at 65. Wow. And then I should by the end of this live, if I haven't already, reach 5,000 subscribers here on TikTok, or followers here on TikTok.
That's amazing. So, congrats, Crystal. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. Hi, Liz. How are you? The YouTube is saying that the audio is perfect over there for them as well.
There you go.
You know what I'll do for you guys real quick while we're waiting? I'm going to play you guys my new theme song.
Oh my gosh, please. Oh, and is it the right version this time? I was on earlier.
This time it's the right version because I was like, oh, I forgot I had downloaded the other version. And because at first that was going to be the version, but then I was like, wait, I don't really like that one as much as this one. This is the right version.
It's a brand new day and she's back again. Get yourself a beverage, let's get settled in. It's Decon Q&A with CrystalJae. Hey, 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 all our favorite heathens gathered in one place. All our questions answered, our favorite creators on display. It's Decon Q&A with CrystalJae. Five, four, three, two, one, get ready for the fun. Decon Q&A with CrystalJae.
I wrote the lyrics, Schley, and then I used a music program to write the music because I don't write music. But I wrote the lyrics.
I love that. I love that. Did you have like someone on Fiverr do that or something?
I'm sorry, what?
Did you like get someone on Fiverr?
I wrote the lyrics and then I just used a program, like a phone app to write the music. So
That's so awesome. Is that what Cyber did too? I heard Cyber's.
Cyber probably used Suno, and that one will write the lyrics for you too. So, but I wanted to write the lyrics for this one.
I love that. I love that. That's so cool.
Darth Dawkins too.
Oh, sorry.
Did you see that? Darth Dawkins is here to say hi to you, Ken.
Oh, hey, Darth.
Have you met Darth? Has he been up on your live yet?
I can't remember. I think so. I've seen so many people around the Decon community, and so it's hard to know who's actually been up on the panel, or I've been up on their panel or something like that. But I've seen Darth around and on various panels and in the comment section wreaking havoc. So yeah.
He's nefarious would be a good word. Infamous, I don't know.
There you go.
Within the deconstruction community. But I have a feeling that's not the real Darth Dawkins because I have never heard him say ahoy.
Ahoy.
Ahoy doesn't sound like something Darth Dawkins would say. That I could be wrong. Could be wrong. Please don't spam my okay. Well, if you must spam, you must go. That's how that works.
That's interesting.
Because it does affect the live in the algorithm if we have spammers in here. Okay. All right. Let's bring him up while we're waiting for your wife. Okay. Is this really the real Darth?
Of course I'm the real one.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. It is me.
No, I'm the real one.
I am.
That is amazing. I really thought you were joking when you said ahoy because I don't think I've ever heard you say ahoy in any chat ever.
I say ahoy quite frequently.
Really? I've never seen you. But I also usually hear you. I don't watch you in chat a lot because usually when I see you, you're up talking, not sitting in chat.
I don't post very much in the chat because it's a waste of time for all the village idiots streaming.
Now you sound like the Darth I know and love.
Well, I call a spade a spade.
Oh my God.
I mean,
well,
TikTok
we're up
is
here.
An ocean of village idiots.
Well, I know. I've heard you say that before, for sure. For sure, I've heard you say that before. Have you been up on Life Beyond Belief's live yet?
I'm not familiar with that. No.
You'll have to check them out sometime. I think you'll really like them. They're a wonderful couple, Ken and Christina, and I think you'll find they are much calmer than most of the people that you are used to dealing with on this app when it comes to talking to them.
Well, I generally don't request up if there's a lot of people up on stage because the moment I start opining, all hell breaks loose.
Right, and usually Ken's pretty good about doing like one-on-ones, you know? He does a lot of one-on-ones. I think you'll like him. But today we're doing Decon Q&A with CrystalJae, and we're talking to Ken and his wife. So while I do appreciate you being here, Darth, I'm going to drop you down. We're waiting for his wife to come up, and then we're going to do some icebreaker questions.
What's the reverse of ahoy? Arrivederci?
Okay,
Hasta
yeah,
la vista,
Arrivederci
baby.
worked. Hasta
All
la
right.
vista, Darth. Have a good day.
See you, Darth. Have a good one. Hey, Skeptic guy.
I will tell you that is the most civil conversation I've ever had with Darth Dawkins, and I am totally clipping that because
That's proof. It has to have
think-
video evidence.
I have to have video evidence.
That's so
He's
funny.
been on Joyful's lives before, and Justin's and Joel's. I don't know. I think he's been on Mezzo's as well. I'm telling you, Adrian, I didn't think it was him. That was, but look at the chat. Look, they can't believe that just happened. They're they're in shock. You guys, if you need to, go get yourself a glass of water, get a little fan, gather yourself together for the actual show. I know that was wild. Hi, Amir. How are you? Look, I'm flummoxed. Look, they're flummoxed at what just happened. And now you're probably going to get a visit from Darth someday.
Wonderful.
And
Look, we'll deal with that. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Skeptic Gal, how are you? I don't know if I'm saying Skeptic.
Gal.
Okay. I want to make sure I'm saying it right. It sounds like he deconstructed and is nice now.
LOL. That's not far from the truth. Just ask my wife. Ask my wife.
Maybe Ken helped us deconstruct Darth Dawkins today. Do you guys think that really happened? I don't think so, but we'll give him credit. We're going to give Ken credit for it anyway, okay?
There you go. I'll take it.
So Darth is, he usually argues more of a philosophical, like he's not, he doesn't argue scripture as much as
most people do. It's really hard to argue scriptures when the scriptures are against you.
Yeah, for sure.
I
want to see. Oh, thank you, Brian. You like the theme song. What did you guys think of Darth Dawkins over on YouTube making a surprise appearance over here today? One can be hopeful, but that's beyond hope. Nah, Darth has DV charges, so I'll pass. Oh my goodness. You guys keep sharing out the live. Let's get to 10,000 likes as quickly as possible. Also, I have a gift goal this morning of the little, April blossoms or whatever they are. And I'm also looking for more subscribers. And I finally hit the magic 50. So if you have been waiting to gift the chat with subbies, you're now able to do so. Darth Dawkins. I'm always trying to explain levels of reward and punishment in heaven and hell. Clear as mud.
Yep, correct.
I don't know if I really believed in levels in when I was a Christian. I don't know if I believed in that, but I do remember hearing that you could get jewels on your crown or something.
Oh my gosh.
And so I always, was trying to get jewels.
I literally used to picture because they talk about adding to the number of crowns you have in heaven or something like that.
Yeah.
So you can add jewels to crowns, but you can also have more crowns. So I was like, well, how do I diversify so I have enough crowns to fit all of the jewels that I'll get? What if I have too many jewels for the one or two crowns that I have? And then I'm like imagining myself, because the fear of hell is a young person, like a young kid in heaven because I've died prematurely.
Yeah.
But I'm like trying to balance all these crowns on my head because I'm a little kid trying to walk into heaven with all these crowns. And then that was my biggest fear, was walking through the gates of heaven with all of my crowns and then them falling everywhere and dishonoring God.
Skeptic Gal says that sounds like a cool video game, not gonna lie. What denomination were you?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So my earliest, and this is something I can't speak for Christina if you'd like to hear as well. So my earliest memory of being in church, we went to a Lutheran church, and it was tied to they had a K through 12 school on the campus. And so I went to kindergarten when I was there. And then we went to the Lutheran church, like on Sundays and everything. That wasn't very long lived. The pastor was a little sketchy and whatever. But then we started going to more non-denominational churches that were Baptist leaning, but it was kind of like the Hillsong wave where everyone was like, oh, we're not Baptist anymore. We want to, play all the cool worship songs and not really be affiliated, because everyone was switching to the more attractional model of church. And but they were all Baptist. They were all SBCs or eventually Ark Church that was a little bit more charismatic. But yeah, mostly non-denominational churches. And then I did some contracting for some more charismatic churches, some mega churches that were kind of still in the evangelical charismatic sphere. Church of the Nazarene, I was affiliated with them for a little bit. Again, kind of like contracting and like working with them. And then when Christine and I met at Liberty, obviously a very like Christian conservative nationalist, you could say, also funnel. That's what I call it. But they're very Baptist, right? And at the time that we were both there, we were going to a Pentecostal church, like full out, like you walk in the door and you're already in tongues, because you had to do like your tongues pregame in the drive to church. So you're ready for like the full service tongues, anyway.
That's wild to me.
And then we left that church because of some craziness that happened. And then we were part of an apostolic church, and one of Christina's main mentors while she was in college was the prophetess of the house, because they believed in the fivefold ministry. And so there was an apostle, a prophetess, a shepherd or a pastor, an evangelist, and a teacher. All five.
Wow.
As opposed to like the
That's
one,
wild.
like the CEO, it was like five.
Right.
Yeah.
That is wild. I grew up Methodist, and as I've said this before, if you could come up with the most milky white, boring, bland denomination, that would be the Methodists. We didn't do speaking in tongues or picking up snakes. There's no full baptism. You get a little sprinkle. I used to joke and say like they spritz you with water as you walk by if they baptize you. When we took communion, they literally sometimes would just bring it to you. You didn't even have to get out of your seat.
It's like curbside communion.
It was. So as I got older, okay. So I was, my mother abandoned me and my children, my sisters and brothers when we were little. And so I have abandonment issues that, obviously like that's going to cause some abandonment issues. Yeah. So when I as a young adult, I was afraid that God would abandon me if I didn't do it right, if I didn't just do it just right. So I went to West Anaheim United Methodist Church. There was another little Methodist church not far from where I lived. It was actually much closer than the one that we went to. And they had youth group leaders who were much more charismatic and evangelical and did worship music. And Methodists don't. Well, at least not when I was growing up. There's not worship music, there's hymns.
Right.
You just sing hymns out of a hymnal. You don't actually get up there and sing, Hillsong and stuff. So of course I was really attracted to that being, young. I was like, oh, they play with guitars and keyboards. And so once my husband grew up Lutheran, and he was, a very lukewarm Christian, and he was going to hell, and I needed to save him from that. Okay. And so I made him, really get involved in the church with me. And we first chose a non-denominational church. And I have to say, I have been deconstructing this religion probably since I was old enough to understand Christianity, but I didn't know that's what I was doing.
Yeah,
I didn't know that's why I had so many questions. I didn't know, I really didn't understand. But it started in that church as an adult. They used to say things like we met at the high school,
right?
And people were donating a lot of money, and we didn't understand why we weren't looking for a church instead of doing it at the high school. Mm-hmm. And it was because they believed that we were going to be raptured any day. So why get a church? Why get a building? Anyway, it also made me start thinking that I didn't think that like they were probably using the finances correctly. And they had said over and over again every Sunday that anybody who wanted to could look at the books. So one day I was like, I want to see the books. They didn't really mean anybody could look at the books, Ken. They didn't really mean that. They didn't like when I asked them to look
Oh
at
my
the
gosh,
books.
you're joking.
And so we left that church. 'Cause
That's
when I realized,
they're like anybody can read the books.
yeah, can I look at them?
Also, like, don't come
What?
back. Don't come back. We
Yeah,
don't-
yeah. What do you mean you want to look at the book? Why are you asking about the? We don't understand. Like they were so flummoxed. I like that word from earlier. They were flummoxed
Wow.
at why Doug and I would be requesting to see the books. But here was one of the reasons why, like legitimately. So we're meeting in this high school, and one of the people who was on the worship team, I did the sound for the worship team with a guy named Tracy.
Crystal.
Yeah, I was learning how to work that little soundboard, and
Fellow audio engineer. Okay, Crystal, I see you. I got you.
yeah, and this one guy was late every time, and he also wasn't really a church member, and he got paid $300 a week to just show up on Sunday and do absolutely jack all, right? And when I realized that, I was like, what else are they spending money on that's just a waste? Like, why are we paying this guy $300? He never shows up on time. He's never here for rehearsals the day before. We always have to wait until the very last minute to get a sound check on this guy, which is so annoying, you know, and he gets paid. Why are we paying him when there's musicians in our congregation and shit, right? So that's why I wanted to see the books.
Crystal, we could be we could do the rest of the show on the business of worship.
So then we went to a Quaker church. Because why not, you know?
I've only heard stories. I've never actually been to a Quaker church, so I don't feel like I really can comment too much.
Okay, I told this last, so if you guys already heard this story, just bear with me a minute.
Crystal pulled
Okay?
an Elon and started cutting jobs.
Quakers are often mistaken to be like the Amish or like the Mennonite, but that's absolutely not true. The reason people think that is because of the guy on the Quaker Oats box. He looks like that.
Are you? That's the reason.
That's why people think that about the Quakers, but Quakers actually just look like everyday normal people.
That's
we are. There's nothing about a Quaker that is Amish or Mennonite. We believe in electricity and iPhones.
That almost like gets to a conspiracy level, but that might be like the funniest conspiracy ever.
Isn't it? And the reason why Quakers are called Quakers is the same reason why Shakers were called Shakers, is because people said that they were so holy that the fear of God made them quake in their boots. So they were Quakers for quaking in their boots with the fear of God. But Quakers are very passive people, okay? They believe very much in everything biblically. So for instance, in order to be on the board of elders, you must match what the Bible describes as what an elder should be: blameless, not a gossip, you know, not blah, blah, blah. It's all listed in, I think, Acts or something.
Yeah.
So
like having your house in order and everything. Yeah.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And the main thing about Quakers is that they are so passive. They do not believe in going to war. So they do not, they have religious exemption from the draft. Nice. They also are not usually police officers because you would have to carry a pew-pew, and they do not believe in pew-pews. They are so passive that my friend, who was the son-in-law of the pastor, told me that had there ever been a home invasion and somebody came in and threatened the life of his wife and his children, he would allow them to unalive his family before he would do anything to protect them, because he knows they are all going to heaven. But that man would never have a chance to go to heaven if he took him out. So instead of protecting his family, he would just accept his fate and hope that the man one day would turn his life around and come to Christ. So yeah, that was something. When I heard that, I'm like, okay, well, I'm pretty passive, but come after my kids and try me, okay? Because that's not going to happen.
Wow.
I'm protecting my kids,
Yeah, of course.
Yep, they take no taking up arms very literally.
That
for sure.
I don't get that. I mean, like, have you ever read the Old Testament?
Yeah, right.
Like, even if God commands you, like, you're not going to do anything. Like, wow, I can't. Having kids should spur you to change your beliefs. That's at least what I think. Like, in every aspect. Like, the biggest one that we talk about is obviously deconstruction. But like, when you have kids and like your heart is just like not moved to change your opinions, change your ideas and your beliefs and your values about certain things, like, I don't understand it.
Me neither. I think that's such a good point, because I was talking earlier, and yes, Burns, you did see me earlier. This is a double header today, Burns. Burns over on YouTube's like, wait, weren't you on earlier? When my children were young, I had friends in the LGBTQIA community, and it was always a struggle with me on the church's stance on that. It always caused a bit of cognitive dissonance in me. And I just decided one day that I really didn't care what the church's stance was. Can somebody mute and block Asher, IA, whatever the hell his name is, in my chat, please? I wanted to make sure that if my kids were, that they knew I loved them. And I had always heard from wow, okay, all right. If you guys can't, I will do it real quick, because now he's wishing me ill will for sure. I had always heard from my friends who were LGBTQIA. What do you mean you're not a mod? I'll mod you up right now. How are you not a mod for me? I thought like you were a mod for me forever.
If you ever need another one, I'm definitely down as well.
Okay. I had always talked to my friends, and they had always told me that they knew who they were from a very young age, right? It wasn't something that took until they were an adult. They knew, they understood, right? And so I thought, well, what if my kids know? And then they hear this rhetoric, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so I went to my kids when they were young, and I was like, I'm going to tell you that I know what you hear in church, and I know what they tell you, but this is what I'm telling you.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm telling you, you will love those people. And I'm telling you, you will not bully those people. And I'm telling you that if people bully those people, you're going to be the one that stands up for them and say, leave these people alone. And then if I one day unalive and I get to heaven and Jesus looks at me and says to me, Crystal, did you love the LGBTQIA community? I'm going to say, yes, Lord, I did. And if he says why, I'm going to say, because I believe you would rather that I err on the side of love. And I don't see how a loving God could condemn me for loving somebody. I just don't see it. And so I'm glad I did that. As I shared before, 2 out of my 3 children are LGBTQIA, and my son is married to a member of the LGBTQIA. So
that's amazing.
I'm glad I did that, because it made them feel safe to tell me and their father that they were LGBTQIA.
That's amazing. Yeah, Christine and I are the only ones of all of our siblings that are not part of the community, that are not queer. And it's interesting that we deconstruct, and then they all feel comfortable enough at that point to pretty much come out to us within that span of only a couple months. And it was just a really humbling experience. It was really amazing. It was amazing because, our beliefs for so many years have been what had kind of divided us. And so it was just a really, really special moment. It was really awesome.
It really is when somebody feels safe enough to come out to you. It is special. And if any of you are in the LGBTQIA community, I want to tell you that I love you. If you're not feeling accepted somewhere, you can feel accepted right here in the Deconstruction Junction Discord. There's a link in my bio. We have a large populace of LGBTQIA in our community, and you will feel welcomed and with open arms, really, really, for sure. Yeah. I love you too, DC. Auntie, yes. I love all my LGBTQIA babies. I call you guys my babies because you're all kids. God damn it, I'm so old. I was saying I just started noticing the silver coming in.
Okay.
But it took until I was almost 60, so I'm not mad. I'm not mad at my genetics,
There you go.
At least it didn't start hitting me when I was 30, so that's okay.
So my uncle has, he had gray hairs when he was 16.
Isn't that wild that some people get it so young?
No.
But I do love a silver fox. My husband's a silver fox, and he didn't like it when he was younger, and I'm like, wait, what do you think? Why do you think I'm attracted to you? I love salt and pepper, and I love silver hair. Just not on me, okay?
There you go. That's too funny.
Good. I'm glad you love your gray hair, etc. You have earned it, and we work hard for every little wrinkle, every little gray hair.
There you go.
All right, you guys, keep tapping the screen. Thank you for 11,000 likes, and thank you for the new subscribers, and thank you for sharing out the live. I hope that you guys are having a wonderful Sunday. Our friend Darren's back.
Is it down?
Hey, Darren.
Hey, I was on here earlier, and I remember I got my Discord set up. Well, my son did.
Oh, good. Awesome.
But man, I'll tell you what, I'm going to have to mess with it. It looks a little confusing.
Okay, listen. If you're in the Deconstruction Junction, first of all, DM me here on TikTok, okay? And then I'm going to help you navigate the Discord, okay?
Oh, you're awesome. That'd be great. I appreciate
I actually made a video to teach people because it is a little intimidating at first, so I will help you with that.
Okay, is that on your TikTok?
It's on my YouTube, I believe, under just videos, but also it's in the Deconstruction Junction under Discord assistance. If you search the word assistance, you should be able to find it, and you scroll to the top and you'll see the little video.
Awesome. I'll check that out. Real quick on the gray hair, I'm into natural medicine. I can help you reverse that if you're interested. It's all copper deficiency.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'll just let it take its course, though. I'm thinking a little silver might be fine,
If it starts getting too out of hand, get on it quick so you don't have other issues arise from it. But yeah, you can hit me up about that anytime. But no, I appreciate your help with the Discord, and I'll be seeing you on there.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Have a good day.
All right. You too. Bye.
Bye.
Kiki said my hair is disrespectful. Coming in bright white. Oh, no.
That is so... Hey, Rich, how are you today? I see a lot of great people out there. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to get started in just a minute.
Hey, just real
Christina's...
quick. Christina is here. The babies are down, but they're not asleep, so we're going to switch real quick.
No. You can stay here, but if we hear them, we need to go check.
Okay, then we're good.
Okay. Okay. All right, you guys. Here's how this is going to work. We're going to start with icebreaker questions for this amazing couple. I'm going to ask the questions, but you both get to answer them for yourselves. Okay. You know, like it's not we're not taking a group answer. You can't.
Yeah, we're still trying to work through that toxic codependency that Christianity taught us to have.
For sure, right?
Yeah, and our toddler just got up and was like, "Daddy."
Aww.
For a little bit, we can all be back.
Okay. Well, now I get to talk with you a little bit. So Ken was sharing with us what denomination he was. So what denomination were you when you were growing up?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so from age 0 to 12, I attended a fundamental independent Baptist church. By church, I mean cult. My grandfather was the pastor. I couldn't wear pants. Women weren't allowed to do anything except like
I wasn't allowed to wear pants.
Yeah, and so it was just like if women wore like skirts, they had to wear like pantyhose, like all of these insane rules. Like it was just crazy. So my parents, they don't like that I say this, but they deconstructed and left that cult and kind of went to more non-denominational, borderline charismatic, borderline Baptist kind of churches, which I'm grateful for because getting out of the cult was good. But then I went to Liberty, which was a terrible idea, but I'm glad I met Kenan. But Liberty is like very Southern Baptist. So if I had to pick a denomination, it would be primarily Baptist. And then, you know, you have your non-denominational churches popping up everywhere now. So.
Oh, yes. Yes, the non-denominational churches, which, I don't know, they're just all the same. They all just want to be big evangelical mega churches in the making, you know?
Yep. And it's a good marketing strategy to take your denomination out of your name. You get more people in the door that way. So,
yeah, for sure. I don't think that people realize how much of church is marketing.
Yeah.
How much are they marketing to you?
Yeah, a lot of the budget goes to marketing for sure. Actually, this is so cringy, but I opened Facebook the other day and I saw an ad from the church that's literally like a stone's throw away from my house. And they were like, "Our church welcomes you this Easter Sunday." And I'm like, I just can't, like, you paid for that Facebook ad to try to convince people to your church.
I can't stand the He Gets Us ads. Oh my God, on Reddit and on the Super Bowl. And shut the hell. First of all, y'all used AI to make your stupid ads, okay? You have millions upon millions of dollars because I think that it's the Heritage Fund that does them. So like the Heritage whatever corporate
Foundation,
whatever the hell that thing foundation. That's what I mean. That's the word I'm looking for. And so they have millions of dollars. Why are you using AI? Hey Joel, how are you? Hey Trevor. But I grew up in Southern California by one of the first, at least it was one of the largest and first in my area mega churches, which is the Crystal Cathedral, which was run by a pastor named Robert Schuller when I was growing up. And I've told this story before, but little Christian Crystal hated that church because I knew that Jesus said not to build big temples to him. He said, don't do that. And they did that. And they were charging like $1,000 to have your name put on a pew. Yeah. And when I found that out, I was just like, oh, I was so annoyed by that. And we'll bring people up in a little bit when after I get done with some icebreaker questions for Christina and Ken, okay? So stay in the box and we'll bring you up in a little bit. So I vowed like to bring them down because I felt they were using my name in vain.
I love that. Wait, but that sounds like me. I was the same way. Like I was very radical about my faith and I took it so seriously.
Oh.
Yeah.
I took it very seriously. Also what we did at our little church was we had this thing that as far as I know, where we lived, it was the first of its kind. And I've still never seen one quite like it. We did a live nativity scene, but it wasn't just like a scene. You came and you walked through Bethlehem. So you came, you signed up at the census, so you signed your name. My father dressed up as a centurion and he would kick beggars out. And so we had beggars that walked around saying, alms for the love of Jehovah, and stuff like that. And then inside our hall, we had little booths. And so we had like a basket weaving booth and a pottery booth. But everything we used was actually authentic to the time. So the pottery wheel, you had to learn how to do it with your foot. Like we learned how to do these things. So we learned to make pots by spinning the potter's wheel with our foot, and we learned how to weave baskets, and we learned how to weave fabric and stuff. So you would go by each one of the booths. We had little samples for people to take with them. We had a booth that had lentil bean soup, and you could come and get a little soup from the Bedouins that were sitting out on the grass. We had a camel, and we had a donkey, and we had sheep, and
when did you guys start preparing for this? This is a whole production.
It was. We would plan like a year in advance for the next year. And I rode in as Mary on a donkey with a little baby. We would have some mom with a real baby let us use their baby as Jesus for the nativity, and people would come and see baby Jesus in the manger and stuff. But the Crystal Cathedral found out that we were doing this, and so they decided. Do you watch The Righteous Gemstones?
No.
You need to start watching it. It's on HBO, but you can find that somewhere else, okay? You have to watch The Righteous Gemstones. It is about mega churches, and it is hilarious. It is a comedy about a mega church, and it is hilarious. Anyway, they would put, how mega churches put on huge productions, right?
Oh, yeah.
That cost thousands of dollars to put on. They did theirs inside, and they did this huge like nativity thing inside. But what they did was they found out that the animals we used were really like the only animals in the area to use for such a thing, because the person had a camel and a donkey and sheep. So they offered them more money and took all of our animals, so we couldn't have them anymore for the Bethlehem Walk. Another reason I hated the Crystal Cathedral and Robert Schuller.
Insane.
Right?
When you started describing that, I think I have been to one before in Virginia where we're based out of. It was pretty impressive. I'm not gonna lie. But that's the competition is crazy.
It is crazy. I just couldn't believe it. Of course, I was a kid, so I don't understand business or anything. All I see is a bullying a smaller church in the area. And I thought, how can you do that? How can you be a Christian and do that to another Christian organization? I don't understand. Like, especially if you're that rich, we can't find other animals, but certainly you should be able to, with your money and influence, find other animals. Why do you got to take our animals,
I don't think a lot of people realize the behind the doors conversations that happen amongst church leadership, and it sounds like a business meeting. It doesn't sound like, we're trying to build the kingdom. No, we need more money. We need more people in the building, because more people in the building means more tithes, and more tithes means we get more status, and we're trying to be the next Elevation or Hillsong, so we got to keep growing.
Mm-hmm. I remember when I went to the Quaker church, I joined the outreach committee because I wanted to help people who needed help, right? Like, that's why you joined outreach. And it was a rude awakening. First of all, outreach always has all the books. They can see everything because they need to know how much money is in the coffers, so they know how much money they can afford to dole out to people in need, which is never very much, okay? Just no matter how much money is in the account, there's not much to outreach with, because they don't want you to give any of it away, because then they won't be able to buy their, houses and their whatever else they want. This particular church didn't have very much, so I can't act like they had, extra properties or anything. They didn't. They had the church and they had one parish, but they still were really tight with the books. But I didn't realize that until this lady called and she said, hey, I'm a single mom and I really need formula and I really need diapers. And I was like, okay, we got you. Let me get you a little money and we'll take care of you. And I think I gave her maybe $40, $60, not much, but just enough to go get some diapers and some formula for her baby, right? And I got chewed out for doing that because they were like, how do you know she's not going to use that for, D-rugs and, buy beer or whatever. And I was feeling like horrible after I did that. And I have to say that the pastor's wife is still somebody I will always hold dear, because if there ever was what a true Christian should look like, Elda Ann was that person. Okay. And she said to me, Crystal, you did what God called you to do. He said to help people when they need help, to feed the hungry. He said to take care of those who need help being taken care of. And you did that. If she now takes that gift that God gave her through you and does something not right with that gift, that's between her and God. Yeah. That's not on you, because you did what you were called to do, and now she has to do what she is called to do. And I was like, God, I love Elda Ann so much.
I love that.
Me too. And now I never feel guilty. I know people say, don't give homeless people money. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do it whenever I want. You cannot stop me. And I'm going to, some people are like, they're just going to go buy some 420 with that. So was I. That's what I was just going to do with it. Let them have it instead of me. Okay.
You know what's one thing I have to give my parents, they have started a nonprofit called the Hub of Hope, and HOPE stands for helping other people eat. And that's their life's mission. And so people will come and for up to 30 days, no questions asked. Here's some meals, and it's just a beautiful thing. Yeah.
I love that so much. DC, Elda, what's that flower? Delta Dawn, what's that flower you have on? See, I knew that reference, DC, because I'm old AF. That's why I knew that song.
I didn't know the reference. It's
an old song by a woman named Tanya Tucker.
Kenan just said, you didn't know that? I'm like, no. I grew up not allowed to listen to secular music, so I'm still trying to catch up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If that would have been a very secular. Tanya Tucker was also somebody who had an affair with Glenn Campbell back in the day. So once that was outed, people, because she was country, and so many Christians are country, she kind of got canceled. But she was a great singer.
Well, Sandy Patty had an affair too, right?
Yes. So did Amy Grant. Remember when Amy Grant had an affair? But she didn't get canceled. they still liked her afterwards. They were like, you can't touch our Amy.
Yeah, Sandy Patty, I think she came with a comeback album, and people were like, oh, she's grown so much. And so they welcomed her back. I actually have led worship with Sandy Patty. So no shade.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. I asked AI to make a pizza Jesus pic. It just made a Jesus holding a pizza nailed to the pan. That's hilarious. Leanne Rimes had an affair and got canceled. Yes, I remember that too. How come they always cancel the women that have an affair but not the men?
It's kind of like the woman who was going to be caught in adultery, and they were looking to, throw rocks at her, and the man was nowhere to be found. Wasn't present.
Man, nowhere to be found. As if you guys don't know who it was. You know who it was. Sandy Patty is pretty cool. Mark Lowry is non-hetero, right? Question mark. I think you're right. I don't.
Mark Lowry.
I don't know for sure.
Sounds familiar. I'm just not putting a face to the name.
Because God don't like women. That's what Trevor said. All right, you guys. Here's the icebreaker questions. After I'm done with these, you guys come up. Get in the box, come up, ask your questions of Christina and Ken from Life Beyond Belief. But we're going to start with icebreaker questions first. All right. Are you ready for these hard-hitting journalistic
I'm
questions?
so ready. You have no idea.
Okay. If animals could talk, which one would be the sassiest?
You know the water walker lizard that like
Oh,
runs in the
yeah.
water and it like does that thing and like kind of shakes his little hips. That was the first thing that came to my mind, just because of kind of like, you know, its posture and air about it.
Yeah.
I think
That
they
would be
call it the
pretty
water
sad.
walker.
I'm gonna go with squirrels.
Oh my gosh, that's good too. I love that. I'm with Chaos Engine. I think it's flamingos. I think they already are sassy, but cats might be it too, because let's face it, they already are sassy too, huh? I don't know. Cats or flamingos, kind of a tie for me.
It's actually called the Jesus.
Because it walks
That's
on
so
water?
funny. Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that
yeah,
why?
That's so funny.
Oh, that's funny. My cat already yells at me, Trevor said. My cats do too. Okay. Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
Oh my
Horse-sized
gosh.
duck.
That's a big duck.
I know.
That is one
One.
big duck.
Have like one thing to worry about instead of like a whole bunch.
It's not like it's a chicken though, right? That bill is really huge. Like it could do some damage.
Okay, if it's a male duck, I'm not messing with it. And if you guys don't know,
I think the duck-sized horse, because I mean the horsepower is drastically reduced, right? So I don't think they can do as much damage.
yeah, I don't. What do you guys say in chat? Say 1 if it's the horse-sized duck, and a 2 if it's the 100 duck-sized horses. Okay, so 1 if you're gonna fight the horse-sized duck. 2 if it is 100 duck-sized horses. I think I'm going with the 100. Yeah, I don't know. I'm scared of a big duck, but also, in case you guys didn't watch my Volsey show, I one time Googled what a male duck's genitalia looks like, and it's scary as fuck. Don't ever look that up.
Wait.
Don't do it.
Unfortunately, I can relate a little bit on this. Unfortunately.
So don't ever look that up. And if it's a male duck that's the size of a horse, I'm fucking not going near it. I don't know why I did that. Somebody did put a 1 in the
I'm
chat.
not fighting 100 anything. That's too funny.
Okay, let's see. What's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten on a dare?
Oh, I don't eat things on dares, so no, absolutely nothing. I just don't do
Absolutely
that.
nothing.
I'm the buzzkill. I'm not eating what you guys want me to eat. Not doing it.
Yeah, so I like didn't party at all growing up. Didn't go to parties. I went to revival services. Okay, but I will say,
Terrible question for us.
in youth group, we did this game where like there was a toaster, like that had like 2 pieces of bread, and whenever the toaster was done and the bread would pop up, like the youth pastor would pick like a disgusting condiment, whether it was like yeah, just like anything like gross, like relish, or just relish is not the worst, but like just
wasabi on your toast.
Like, whipped cream or just something gross, and he would put it on the toast, and then you had to eat it if like it landed on you. And so that was disgusting. I remember eating something that I didn't like that night. But
Okay, I do actually have a story now that I think about it, and this is the reason that I gave my initial answer. It was a trauma response, but yeah, I'll just walk you through it. So it was also in youth group, and we were, I think that was one of the kids. I might have to go in a second. We were, basically the analogy was, the more sin you have in your life, the harder it is for you to hear God's direction in your life. Mm-hmm. So we had a list of instructions. It was like turn by turn instructions, like 50 of them, right? And every instruction you had to put a gummy bear in your mouth. And then you had to communicate the instruction, and then the other person had to write down the instruction. So eventually you just have a mouthful of gummy bears, and you're like, oh, and they're like, I think
my
turn right on this street, right? And I ended up vomiting at the end of that. And so
I do not blame you for that. Also, just so you know, if you're listening at home, don't play any game where you have to shove multiple things in your mouth, especially marshmallows. Many people have choked and died playing the marshmallow game where you shove marshmallows in your mouth and try to talk. Don't do that. It's dangerous. And if your youth group pastor tells you to do that, find a new church, okay? Chubby bunnies, yes. Chubby bunnies, where you put marshmallows in your mouth and you try to talk. But people actually unalive doing that. Can you imagine that that's the way you go out? How did you die? I was playing chubby bunnies. That's the big thing.
And I've like come to terms with like unaliving, but I don't want to go out like in a stupid way. Like there's just certain things like I just it's not worth it to me.
Yeah.
I just don't.
No.
Yeah.
So I did party. It was the 80s when I was. It was the 80s. Kind of everybody partied. Like I think that Christians and heathens alike were doing all kinds of things you shouldn't do in the 80s. But so I grew up in Southern California, and because of it, there's a large Hispanic population, and I am friends with many amazing Mexican American people. They are my best friends, and because of it, of course, tequila would be involved. And there is sometimes a worm in your tequila. And after a few shots, they dared me, and I ate the worm in the tequila.
Wow.
They said you would get like really, really wasted if you did that. I don't remember that really happened, but I probably pretended because I was young. And you know how like you always act like you're drunker than you are when you're young and stuff. So I probably acted like it.
That's crazy.
All right, I'm going to keep going while he gets the baby, and we'll just keep going. If you were a kitchen appliance, what would you be and why?
I feel like the refrigerator, just because you get the most attention.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
Former theater kid here, so I like attention.
Trevor said a stove so I can still get baked. Closet Sexual says an oven because I'm so hot. Okay, I'd be a broken toaster so someone can trash me. You guys, your responses are amazing. I love them. I would probably be a slow cooker so I didn't have to do much work. I would just be a crock pot sitting there, doing my thing.
Love that.
What do you mean cook dinner? Come on. It's going to take about 6 hours. But dinner, but it'll be good. It'll taste like you've been working all day, okay?
Oh
so
my gosh,
I would be
love
just
that.
a nice slow cooker.
It sounds like a good retirement. Like
For sure. Okay, what if you had to go to a karaoke bar that did gospel or Christian music only, what would be the karaoke song you would sing?
Oh. I've like stuffed so much of the CCM worship music down. I'm like trying to think. Oh, so it would be Alabaster Box by CC Winans.
Oh my God, I love that song so much. Oh my God.
It is really
it's
beautiful
such
song. She did a
good
great
song.
job storytelling with that one. I love it.
God, it's such a good song.
Yeah.
I think I will always love that song, even though I'm no longer a Christian. Actually, I did a live last week where it said, Christians, tell me your favorite Bible story. And somebody came up and mentioned the Alabaster box for their favorite. And I actually thought, I ain't even going to try to like really fight them on this one because it's actually a pretty good story. So I didn't really we got into other topics with them or whatever, but I was like, at least they didn't come up with something like Job. You know what I mean?
Wait, the give and take away, that is a nightmare of a song.
Yeah.
Um,
I think think that if it wasn't Alabaster, which I do love that song, I would probably do So Glad by Amy Grant, because I also loved that song. It was one of my favorites. Although I'm so glad now that I'm out of that shit, but
Yeah, same. No, same. I feel like I could get through that song if I like viewed it as just like a song from a musical, just like storytelling this song.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I feel like at the end she starts escalating and like praising Jesus. I think that would be a little triggering, but everything else
Yeah,
should be
that exactly. And I think that I could actually picture the lyrics as something else like, once I held in my hand, it's a castle made of sand. Now you've blown it all away. I can't believe. I could picture that maybe that's my husband and my kids blowing away all the designs that I had for my life, and now they've come into my life and made it so much better. But the praising of Jesus at the end would just be like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah. Funny story. My OB, when I was pregnant with my daughter, Ken and I were like the climax of our deconstruction, like basically like winding down, like we're done with this. Like we just can't, we were holding on for dear life. We're like, we're done. Well, my OB was very much a believer still. And so I'd go into the office and CC Winans is just blasting through the speakers. And I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
this is a lot. Like I used to, like a year ago, I would have been singing along. And now I'm just like absolutely horrified.
Right? It's really weird. I remember one of the smallest things that would happen after I realized I didn't believe anymore. And I know it seemed stupid. And now I'm kind of over it. But at first it was like, what do I say when somebody sneezes? Because I don't want to say God bless you. Like,
Right.
what? And then I was like, well, I guess I could just say bless you, but then who's blessing them? Am I blessing them? Like, I really had to go over this whole thing. And I posted it on Reddit or something, and I got downvoted to freaking hell for asking non-believers what they say now when somebody says, you could say gazoon time. I'm like, I guess. It just seems like I'm being, I don't know, like a caricature or something when I say that. I don't know. So
No,
it
I
did
relate-
bother me.
No, I relate to that, and more so in the way of like, being like a full-time worship leader. I just have people like reaching out to me all the time, like, hey, like, can you just keep me in your prayers? Like, I would always say, of course, I'll be praying for you. And so I'm just like, love you, let me know how it goes, like, keep me updated.
Right.
Like, just trying to figure out something other than praying for you, because I'm like, I'm not going to lie and tell you that I'm praying for you, and I'm not.
Right. And I'd have had people ask in the deconstruction community, what do you do now when somebody asks for prayers? And I've told them before, I actually find out if there's something I can actually do for them instead
Exactly.
of pray. Like, I don't have a lot of money, but maybe if there's a little money I can help you with, maybe that's something I could do. Do you need a meal? Can I babysit for you? Is there something else I could do for you that could help you? Because praying's not going to do shit. So I'd like to
that's
actually
so
be
much
a
more
service.
helpful. Absolutely.
Right? Okay. Who was your favorite cartoon character when you were growing up?
So I'm a big sister, and I just loved watching Tom and Jerry. Because Jerry was just so clever. And so I remember just watching Tom and Jerry trying to figure out ways that I could just like make my brother miserable. Just like little things. Like I was always mischievous as a child when it came to that. That's probably my favorite.
I think I love Jerry the most too, to be honest with you. But I don't know if you remember, every once in a while, I don't know why these characters always did it for me, but every once in a while, Jerry would have his cousin come to visit, like from another, and then the two of them would like kind of gang up. And for some reason, the cousins visiting were my favorite ones. They were always they looked just like Jerry, but there would be something to let you know that they were either from the country, like a piece of straw hanging out of their mouth, or that they were from the city, like with a little something like a suit to make them look like they were from the city or something. I don't know why, but I loved the stupid little cousins that came to visit. They were always so cute. The mice in cartoons are always the cutest.
Truly.
But
Yep.
I actually have a phobia of actual rodents. So in real life, that doesn't fly with me.
Same.
I can't stand rodents. Okay. What would your superhero name be if your power was something completely useless?
Ooh. One more time. What was the question? One more
What
time.
would your superhero name be if you had a power that was completely useless? All my powers are completely useless, by the way.
This is so cringy, but I would be Gossip Girl. Because, like, gossip is pretty useless, but, like, I think it's still fun.
That's true, huh? Yeah. Well, I've told everybody before that if I had a useless superpower, it would be to be able to immediately have a good hair day, like at a whim. Like,
Ooh.
my hair is perfect, right?
I love that.
I don't know. Like, maybe I would be Crystal Quaff or something. I don't know. I don't know, but that would be my useless superpower, to have good hair at any time I want. Right when I get out of bed, the minute I wake up, it's beautiful hair.
I love that.
Trevor said personal demand avoidance head. Super bendy thumbs. That's a great one, Chauncey. Okay. What's your guilty pleasure song that you secretly jam to?
This is going to give me away as a young mom, but I don't know if you've seen the Sing movies. There's like Sing 1, Sing 2.
Yes.
So there's a song in Sing 2, Could Have Been Me, that Halsey like covers it, but it's the little wolf sings it. It gives me chills, and I will listen to it even when the kids will sleep. Like, I love it so much.
In the chat, we have Gloria. I love Gloria. Gloria. That was a great song, and I'm not going to sing it because then I'll just ruin it for you, Trevor, and you'll never listen to it again. Believe by Cher. The Time Warp. Those are all good ones. Why isn't anybody calling? Yeah. Why isn't anybody calling? Okay. I'm weird, you guys. Defying Gravity, another great one.
Oh, well, that's not a guilty pleasure for me. That I am proud to love that song.
Yeah, right. I like Al Jarreau. I've said that before, and I know that a lot of you guys don't know who the fuck Al Jarreau is, and that's okay because I do. And he sang a song. God, what is it? Boogie Down. And he scats in it, and I like memorized the scats. So I will scat with Al Jarreau any day of the week on Boogie Down.
I love that.
Okay. Anyway, I love Al Jarreau, and I love a good scat. So, yeah. So I like it when Joel scats, by the way, you guys. I know he mocks himself for doing it, but it's actually one of my favorite things that Joel does.
Oh, wait. I was going to answer Joyful in the comments. So we are young parents. We have 2 babies, 3 and 1. And so when one of us is live, the other is doing parent things. Kennan's getting our son down right now. So that's why we're not together at the moment. But I know
they've been tag teaming.
Yeah. One dude one night in our life was like, wait, I thought I followed 2 different creators. Y'all are married? I'm like, yeah.
I was telling Ken how I met you. I don't know if you remember. So I said one day I'm scrolling around and I see you on TikTok, and I don't know that you're a couple. I only see you, right? So I'm like, oh my God, she's like brilliant. Like, she's so fun. She's vibrant. She's smart. She's funny. Oh my God, I love her. I need to tell her about the Deconstruction Junction, right? So I go, hey, you should join our Discord, the Deconstruction Junction. And then I go, oh, that sounded like a bot. Hey, I'm not a bot.
I remember the first time I came across your page was Joyful was live and you were a moderator. And I remember you were like, hi, for TikTok purposes, are you above 18? Hey, awesome. And are you a Christian? Okay, great. Thank you so much. Take it away, Joyful. And I was like, she is a mod. Like, she has got this whole thing down. Like, respect. And I think I sent you like a few roses. I was like, wow, I'm impressed.
I am his co-host with the mostest for sure. And so, yeah, kind of, actually every once in a while you'll see that he'll start to go, okay, so, and I'll go, what are you doing, Joyful? Taking my job? That's my job. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Crystal. But the other thing I do is commercials, and I should probably do one right now. You guys, thank you so much for the 17,000 likes. Thank you for the gifts and all the sharing that you've done. If you don't mind, let's get, I've been live for almost an hour and a half now. We should be at well over 25,000 likes. It's super important to start tapping that screen like you tap ass on a Friday night, okay? Also, I have a gift goal. Those are the April Blossoms. They're 88 coins each. If you have the coin, please send up that little April gift for me. If you don't have that many coins and you do want to help boost the live, make sure you send up roses, lightning bolts, ice cream cones, whatever, and make sure that you're gifting my wonderful guests today, Ken and Christina. And also, I am looking for more subbies. We reached 66 subbies today. I'm really excited about that. If you have been waiting to gift out subbies, you can now do that on my live. But if not, it's less than a cup of coffee a month. You are subscribed to Netflix, Hulu, and the NFL Premium channel, which is the dumbest channel ever to pay for because you can't even watch the games on your TV. You have to use a tablet. So why are you subscribed to that when you know that you could just, go find those games somewhere else online for free? So why don't you cancel those subscriptions? You're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, watching the creators anyway. You're not even watching any of that crap. Cancel it, save yourself some money, and then come subscribe to small creators like myself and to Life Beyond Belief, where we give you more bang for your buck, okay? And thank you all for being here. I know you could be anywhere on Sunday, like church. Hi, Love but you chose to be with us heathens today instead. We really appreciate that. Okay, back to these hard-hitting journalistic questions, okay? If you had to wear one Halloween costume every day for the rest of your life, what would it be?
The Mrs. Incredibles costume.
Oh, that is good.
It's gonna feel like leggings and a little tight shirt, so I could do that one.
Oh my God, that is a really good one, huh? I don't know what I would wear. I would probably dress as Glinda. Just so I could be bougie every day for the rest of my life.
You know that costume goes along with your superpower of always having your hair done.
See, it's meant to be. I'm telling you. I would want the little wand. I could go around and be like,
Yeah.
Okay. What would your warning label say if you came with one?
Social battery dies frequently.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I do love hanging out with people, but then every now and then I'm like, why did I do this? Like an hour in, I'm like, oh man, I can just feel myself like slowly shutting down. I don't feel that way now. Just putting that out there.
That's good. That's good. I know this will be really hard for people to believe, but I have social anxiety. So, for some reason, doing things like this doesn't bother me. But should you say to me, like, hey, let's meet in real life, suddenly my mind is like, oh, like real life? Like,
yeah.
I don't know about that. And that's not just with, people I don't know. Like that can sometimes be my own children. Like I didn't know I had it really bad until like one time my son and his wife came out for Christmas or something. And I had to talk to my therapist, but I said, I feel like I disassociated like the entire time they were here, and I feel really bad about, like, I felt like I kept trying to force myself to be back in the moment, and I don't even know why that was occurring. Like, I really I love my kids, right? And it just has to do with my social anxiety. Like, I don't know. I don't feel comfortable all the time in person with people. I don't know. And people always think, no, you're outgoing. You can't have social anxiety. That can't be a real thing. But it's true. I do. I have it pretty bad. Well, I'm going to ask Ken a few of these questions, if you don't mind. And then you guys, if you'd like to come up and ask Ken and Christina some questions, I think we have a couple of people in the box. If they're still there, we'll bring you up in just a minute, okay? So Ken, I'm just going to ask you like the last three, okay?
Okay, I'll try to do it quickly.
Okay, ready? What's your guilty pleasure song to jam to secretly?
Oh, secretly. I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty transparent about my playlist.
Okay.
Okay. There was I forgot his name, but there was this guy who does like some comedy stuff. He's in the Christian space, like a lot of like making fun of the church and like other things. He rapped about the show VeggieTales.
Oh wait, I think I've seen that. It's so good.
It's pretty fire. I'm not gonna lie.
It is good.
I haven't listened to it in a while, but that question made me think about it, so I probably will tonight. That's actually a really good one. I said, I like this artist from the 80s. His name was Al Jarreau. And he sang a song called Boogie Down, and he scats in it. And I told them that I memorized all the scats and everything. I love it.
That's my guilty one. Okay, if you had to wear one Halloween costume every day for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, wow. Honestly, the only this is kind of needing more backstory, but our first Halloween that I can remember celebrating since I was probably in elementary school was last Halloween, right after we deconstructed because it wasn't demonic anymore.
Oh yeah.
We were thing 1 and thing 2, and then the kids were the kids.
Wait, I dressed my kids as the Cat in the Hat and Little Cat A and Little Cat B one time because I have 3 kids. I actually have a thing 1 shirt from Universal Studios. I love thing 1 and thing 2. That's awesome.
Yeah, and
I love that.
Zion was one of the characters from the Cuckoo Mask.
Yeah.
And then Serenity, we call her Ren sometimes. She was Little Ren, right?
Aw.
Yeah.
I like that. Did you want to guess what your wife said, just for the fun of it?
Awesome. You're going to wear for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's such an out there question.
Yeah.
It is. It's pretty wild. But she's smart. She is so smart. Go ahead and tell them what you said.
I said Mrs. Incredible.
That's a good one. That's a really good
Right?
You would like that.
It will be, it's like she's so smart because it'll be all comfortable and stuff, you know? It's like wearing leggings all day. So it was smart. I picked Glenda. Just, I want to annoy people, I think, mostly. I think that's why I would do that. What would your warning label say if you came with one?
Oh my gosh, these are like thinkers. Wow. My warning label.
Thank you, Kiki.
What's that one that's like on the back of trucks? It's like frequent stops or like frequent turns or something like that. Because I'm always I'm distracted, so I'm like makes frequent stops or takes off ramps or something like that. I don't know how to word it, but like just is all over the place sometimes.
may shop frequently or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I had a warning label, it would simply say, "Do not remove under penalty of unalivement." Kind of like the ones that come on mattresses and pillow. Oh, you guys are not loading for some reason. So smart, super smart and handsome. If you can try again to come up, and Antichrist, if you can try again, that would be great. If you guys have questions now for Ken and Christina, please go ahead and request up and we'll bring you on up. I was trying to send those to Crystal. I need new. Oh, well, that's okay. I love it that you gifted them. That is just perfectly fine with me. Let me see if we have any questions. I'm 100% choosing those. An earthworm for $1 when I was 7. Somebody ate an earthworm for $1 when they were 7. I could not do that. And I ate the worm in tequila, and I still couldn't do that one. At least mine had been marinating in tequila. I also didn't chew. I just swallowed it whole, so I wouldn't have to taste it. You know,
Oh my
so it's
God.
like, I'm not chewing this thing. I'm not doing that.
Oh, no.
Did you read the book How to Eat Fried Worms? I did when I was growing up. I did.
I opened it and then I made something up about what I read to my mom when I was young. Yes.
That is so funny. Oh, we were talking about Halloween. I'll have to tell you about our best church Halloween. Our church would do something on Halloween, obviously, so that people wouldn't go do something demonic on Halloween.
Right.
So we still had a costume party, but it was you had to not be demons and witches and stuff. You had to pick something that was more wholesome. I'm sorry, hang on one second. What?
I'm gonna shred cheese.
Oh, no, you're not. Why would you do that right now? Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, honey. He said he was gonna shred cheese, and it's very loud. It's a machine. No. Anyway, speaking of my wonderful husband, we used to go bowling at a bowling alley in this little town that we lived in, and they had a claw machine in it. And my husband and my son were amazing at that claw machine. They'd win us prizes every time we went bowling. And in it, at the time, it was when Clinton was going against Bush,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a Clinton mask and a Bush mask in the claw machine. And my husband won the Bush mask, and immediately I knew what I was going to make him be for Halloween. Immediately it came to me. And so I made him wear a suit and put the Bush mask on. And then I took the little foam, the sheets of foam you can get to use to make different arts and crafts with your kids and stuff. And I cut them out in shapes of fire, and then I put foil on it too, and I stuck it all over his suit. So could you guess what he was? He was the burning bush. And we won the costume party.
I did not see that.
I just did it. I was in politics sphere.
He was the burning bush, and it was just hilarious. People loved it. The only other one that was almost as good was there was another guy who was he was pretty heavy set, right? And he came all dressed in black, just from head to toe. And it took us a long time. We were I just don't get what Chad is. I don't understand what he is. And he goes, "I'm the thick dark." Because I guess there's a Bible verse that talks about the thick dark. So he was the thick dark, and Doug was the burning bush. And those were the best ones at the Halloween party.
Now that you remind me, we would have Spirit Week at my Baptist school growing up, and it would be costume day, and I would always pick Queen Esther because I felt in my little kid head, Queen Esther was Princess Jasmine. that was just like in my head. I just compared the two. So
Yes,
that's my
yes.
favorite one.
I did think that Esther was amazing. Well, any woman who actually had a name in the Bible.
Right.
There's that.
Like, because there were so very few that it was easy to look up to them. Like, oh, there's a woman who actually has a name. I can maybe pretend I'm her, I don't know. You guys, the guest box is open. Please come up. Let's ask them all your questions. I will start dragging your butts up here because I know you guys have questions. So, and if you have a question over on YouTube, please feel free to ask your question in the chat, and I'll be happy to read it out loud for the whole class. I just asked Tahir to come up here. She always has good questions. I don't know if she's available, though. Did we ask them what the biggest thing they've learned since stepping away from their faith?
That's a great question.
Hi, Jay.
I guess for me it would be just like so much of my Christian life was just this cycle of suffering. Like I would mess up. I'd feel like terrible for disappointing God. And then I would repent and then I'd mess up again. So I was just always in this state of like constant failure and suffering and depression, really. And now that I'm out, I'm like, man, life was never supposed to be that hard. Like it was not like that was not healthy. And it wasn't good that I glorified that suffering. Like that wasn't healthy. And so I'm prioritizing enjoying life and enjoying every moment.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. One of the hardest things for me to really, I don't know how to say it, but to get over, I guess, the cognitive dissonance, like to get past that with, even after I realized I didn't believe anymore, was the way as a Christian, you were taught that you were filthy rags. And at the same time, you were also taught that you were royalty and that you were special and set apart. And those two things just fucked with me so much as a Christian that when I came out of it, it was like, so what am I? Am I filthy rags or am I special? And how do I figure that out now without some kind of weird Bible verses to try to confuse me? How do I figure that out all by myself? And so that was really hard to find my self-worth and understand that, one, I am not filthy rags, but I am also not some princess going to a higher place when I get to heaven. I'm a human being that needs to find her own purpose on this earth for the few days that I have on this, rock spinning through space, so, but that was really hard to figure out, like after leaving. Jordan says,
I was just going to say really quick, looking back, I feel like the conflicting nature of beliefs like the ones you stated was what I labeled as spiritual warfare. Like that was literally it. Like just always feeling this tug of war. Like I matter to God. Even the good things I do are like menstrual rags. It's like, holy cow. Yeah. So
Right. Yeah, for sure. I really believed 100% in spiritual warfare. Like I read Frank Peretti books, and if you haven't, don't, because they're about spiritual warfare a lot, but they're for young adults. Jordan says, my mom is diehard Christian. How did you break it to your parents?
Well, my parents were much easier to talk to. One, because we, at the time, we really weren't very close. And I stopped caring what they think, what they thought a long time before that. So for me, it was pretty easy. They were sad. We talked about a lot of scripture. We talked about leading worship. We talked about the manipulation of the church and leadership and how the Bible is full of problems. And then, they just respectfully disagreed or whatever. But I honestly, they took it how they took it, and it didn't really bother me. But they've always been culturally Christian.
Yeah.
I say, because so it didn't really hit them hard. They were just like, oh, like, of course I wish that didn't happen, but I respect your decision, kind of thing. And I'm like, who are you? Like, that's not how you used to, like, say. I remember so my dad worked in my high school and my middle school. Actually, he was the resource officer there, and I remember getting a phone call as soon as school ended from my mom, who heard from my dad, who heard from the assistant principal, who heard from a teacher that I was walking next to a girl and
Oh my
and
God.
holding her hand between classes.
You slut.
My mom calls me. She's like, so would your lady friend like to come over? And we had a whole conversation, and she was like, I'd be totally fine if you guys wanted to, decided to continue holding hands. Like, I'm totally fine with that.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. But I have another question here from Tahir, but before I get to that, I would love it if you guys would share your deconstruction story. I have heard it, but I don't think everybody in chat has heard it before, and I really like your story.
Yes. Do you want to
Okay.
share?
Yeah, I'll share with my parents.
Because that was the what you see one.
Yeah, so my parents are still full-time pastors. So they knew that I was on a journey of questioning the faith, but they didn't know how bad it was. I guess they were just too busy, because they are busy. They stay busy. And I remember I brought my kids over to their house, and my dad was like, so, baby girl, how is your relationship with Jesus? How is your walk with Yeshua? Like, he literally was just like, my dad's very radical. And I was like, oh, so we're having this conversation. And I was literally like, well, I haven't prayed in like a year. And he was like, what? And so that's how and they were in such a state of denial that they were just like, oh, you're just in a crisis of faith right now. And so like, we're just going to keep lifting you up in prayer. It's been 2 years. And so now they're like,
you're on your atheist journey and blah, blah, blah.
well, no, they don't say atheist journey.
They said that about us, not to our face.
But they're just like, like we just have to leave it up to God, And so I know that conversations happen outside of my presence, and I'm just that. I was always the rebellious child, black sheep, I guess you could say. Just growing up, I had undiagnosed ADHD. So I mean, but
Yes.
There were some intense conversations, because at the time we were living with them for a short time before we ended up moving, and had some pretty intense conversations. Voices were raised, and we were called heretics, and we were told that we were crazy for rejecting the core tenets of our faith and for rejecting Paul. That was a very specific offense.
Yeah,
rejecting Paul. Let's see.
How dare you? Because we all know Paul is the one true savior.
Damn it, Paul.
Yeah, we always say in our lives that the church is made up of 100% polyester, and we like spell out.
I love it when you guys say that so much.
Polyester
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay, so our deconstruction story. So, we got married in 2020, and we were both full-time worship leaders. We also had other work, but like we were very much like we were going to songwriting retreats and traveling, doing music. Like that was what we thought we'd be doing for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And I got pregnant because I didn't believe in birth control. But I got pregnant, and that just changed everything. Becoming a parent, I knew that there were a lot of things that I saw growing up, especially because, I talked about growing up in a cult and what that was like. The men in the cult would joke about having will-breaking ceremonies for their children, where they would just, literally beat you into submission. And I had mine at 16 months. So that was just lovely. So growing up in such an abusive, toxic environment, I knew that I wanted better for my kids, and I didn't know what that looked like, but I just knew that I had to do things differently. And so there was just this inner chaos and turmoil. And at the time I was like, okay, God, you're going to have to like show me the way. And so it was a lot of like cherry picking scripture to try to still make this faith thing work. But like, I couldn't deny my, I guess I would say, maternal instincts to like raise my children differently than how the Bible talks about. And so Kenan and I, when our son turned 1, we started a time of prayer and fasting. And this sounds so crazy to say now, but we were like, Lord, we need your wisdom to train them up in the way they should go. And during that time of prayer and fasting, we I guess, what is the word? We were open to the idea that maybe something we were reading in scripture was a clear contradiction. Before we were like, oh no, we just don't understand it. There's no contradiction.
Right.
But that was the first time where we were like, wait a minute, we can't reconcile this.
And it came up, we were in a Bible study at the time.
Yeah.
That was led by your parents. And we were going through, we had just finished some letters from Paul, and then we jumped to Revelation, and we saw kind of two points of view on eating food sacrificed to idols between Jesus and Paul. And that was like the first one where we're like, I remember we like cried in the car when we got home, and we read about it. And we, we're Googling, we're researching, like trying to understand, getting context, and hearing some commentary on on this. Because apparently we're not the first people to come across this one.
Right.
And we walk in the house with the kids, or with just Zion, I think. And I remember like we went into the bathroom or something, and I like left you for a second, and I came back like 5-10 minutes later, and you were still just like staring at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah.
And like we were not okay.
It was mostly because, like, just the idea that I had been taught that, like, this was the, God-breathed, inspired word of God, that it's, profitable for teaching and all of this stuff, and to see an error, like, as clear as day. And then I started, like, we literally made a Google Doc of, like, Jesus's words on one side, Paul's words on the other. And I was like, why is most of the Christian doctrine something that Paul said and not even something Jesus said?
Yeah.
I'm like, this is really unsettling. What if we've been following the wrong person this whole time?
Yeah. So even before we fully discounted Paul, we did stop reading all of his letters. We were just reading the Gospels.
It was a detox from Paul.
It was.
Yeah.
Even if we were wrong and we came back later, I think it was still good for us, because it was us kind of realigning and reevaluating, like, what is the source of our beliefs? And so we went straight to what we knew, which was Jesus. And we're like, Jesus is our Messiah, Paul's not our Messiah, so we're going to go straight to Jesus. And so we kind of did, like she said, a Paul detox. And, we were just digging more into the Gospels and really trying to understand what Jesus wanted for people that followed him and people that believed him. And it was crazy because, we always have read the Gospels. We know that we knew the Gospels, like we had taught and written songs about what Jesus has talked about in the Gospels, but detoxing Paul and only reading the Gospels, only reading the words of Jesus and what Jesus taught, it's hard to not be radicalized when you do that.
Yeah.
Jesus is the most clear about what he desires his followers to do, how he desires his followers to follow him, to act. Yeah. And it just radicalized us even more. And, of course, we were like, all right, well, we don't need Paul because, obviously, this is our Messiah. This is what he's telling us to do. So we completely rejected Paul. We were, we questioned, who gave Paul the authority to even speak on certain things. Yeah. And then looked down. We were like, this guy's crazy, because even in some letters, he's like, I speak this on my own authority. I'm like, well, then I don't give a shit what you have to say.
Right. We're like, what makes Paul different than like a pastor? Yeah. Who would we were people where a pastor would say something off and we're like, that's not biblical.
Right.
Like we never just like idolized pastors to the point of being like, oh, everything they say is correct.
And the hypocrisy is pastors will say that. Like, don't just get it spoon fed to you. Go and pray. Go and read the word yourself. But then when Paul says that, Paul says, this is my opinion on this. They're like, oh,
right.
yeah, Paul. He's a father of our faith. You know, he is full of so much. He was hearing directly from God. I'm like,
How do we know?
I thought y'all were too, though. So that's
right.
But yeah, so
It amazes me too when you start to hear, like, when you're still coming out of, when you're still questioning, you're not even sure whether you don't believe it anymore or not. You're just in that ether, right? And then you hear somebody say something, and I think that I don't know who I heard say it, but they were like, why don't people realize that Paul probably just had a concussion? And I'm like, what? Oh my God, he probably did have a concussion. And he just thought he saw something. He never sees Jesus. He sees a light. He sees a light. He fell, he hit his head, he saw a light. Those are all signs of a fucking concussion.
all I'm saying is I'm not going to rule out PTSD as well from all of the Christian unaliving that he did. So, you know, it could have just been a traumatic kind of
Guilt manifesting
something, but it was definitely all in his head, 100%.
But no,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
this is something that we'll have to make like a long-form YouTube video about like how we feel about Paul. But one thing I did want to say is we started like going through and like highlighting all of Jesus's warnings, and he's like, many will come, and if they say he's in the desert or like he's here, like do not believe them, you know. And so he's like, beware of the Pharisees. Like Paul says, I'm a Pharisee of Pharisees. He said, beware of wolves in sheep's clothing. Paul stems from the tribe of Benjamin. And if you go and read the blessing for Benjamin in Genesis 49, it's that he's a ravenous wolf, devouring the prey. Another person that stems from the tribe of Benjamin is King Saul in the Old Testament. Yeah. So we were putting all these pieces together. We were like,
Saul and Saul.
Jesus was predicting that Paul was going to hijack the Christian faith.
Yes.
So many astray. And he's like, you're going to divide the spoils.
Yes.
That verse also.
And it was crazy because, you know the saying, you rob Peter to pay Paul. And I was just like...
I'm like, these sayings don't come from nowhere.
But I was like, why don't we have more of Peter's letters? Because Peter literally walked with Jesus. Whenever Jesus would break from the 12 and still have 3, Peter was there. Why are we hearing so much from Paul and not Peter?
That led us to read the Clementine homilies, which if you have not read the Clementine homilies,
I haven't.
We read them as Christians. And I will say, like, I was still skeptical because of the canonization. I was like, oh, well, it's not part of the Bible. I don't know where this comes from, right? So I was skeptical, but we were very heavy into the Peter versus Paul kind of tension and very curious on like just what happened in church history and in the canonization and everything. Not even like a couple pages into the Clementine homilies, and it starts talking about like Peter basically just like shitting on Paul. Like he's preaching a lawless gospel, and far be it from to ever preach that kind of gospel. It's like it's absolutely like just basically like disrespectful. Like don't listen to him, and like he's
right.
Like, even in some of Paul's writings, he says, you know, I was rejected. And I think it was in churches in Asia, or he was rejected
when he went to Ephesus.
And it talks about that. It talks about like these churches, you guys have rejected this lawless doctrine, and like good for you, basically.
Yeah. Like when it's in Acts, it's like near the end of Acts, before, you know, Paul stands before the council. He's trying to make a case, and he tries to go into Ephesus, and the people storm the gates, and they tell him he's not allowed to enter. Well, when you go and read Jesus's letter to the church in Ephesus, they say like Jesus says, "I have one thing against you: you hold you hold to the teachings of the one who claims to be an apostle and is not."
Yeah.
And when you look at Acts 1, the requirements for an apostle, Peter literally says you had to have been with Jesus from the time of his baptism to his ascension.
When they were replacing Judas,
So, anyway, enough about Paul.
And then finding out, like, for me, that it wasn't finding out for me that many of the letters were forgeries and not Paul's to begin with. Okay, that was like, okay. But finding out that people have always known, this isn't news. This isn't news. It's only news to me because my pastor chose not to share this information with me, even though he went to seminary and he was taught that very thing. And so that blew my mind. I was like, what in the hell are you talking about? And then I remember listening to, I don't know if you listened to Sebastian Cole, Pinkbeard ever, but Bash, say that, oh yeah, there were times where they like wanted to beat the shit out of Paul. The real apostles did. Like they wanted to fight him. They were like, we will beat the shit out of you. Like you're nuts. And I was like, wait. What?
I was ready to go. I was like, this guy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it was a moment for us where, you know, you're watching your favorite show and the person you've been rooting for turns out to be the bad guy, and you're like, wait a minute, that was how it felt. And so unfortunately, fortunately because we ended up deconstructing, but unfortunately we started like going crazy. We tried to follow the law of Moses.
Oh no. I think a lot of people do that when they're deconstructing though.
So we fully discounted Paul. We're like, not listening to Paul. Then we were just into Jesus and his words. But because Jesus preached the law, we were going to the Torah and we were reading a lot of the prophets and still reading into them about the prophecies of Jesus because we weren't there yet. But I came across two things when I was reading the Old Testament that had never stood out to me before. Number one was that people have walked blamelessly before the Lord. They were counted as righteous before God in the Old Testament without Jesus. Okay.
Yep.
And the second is that there were people that, for whatever reason, maybe they couldn't afford the certain kind of offering or whatever, or it was some other like repentance. Blood was not necessary for certain forgiveness of certain sins. And so I was like, if Jesus' only or main thing that he came to do was to be unalived so that his blood would atone for our sins, why did those people in the Old Testament not need any kind of offering or blood or anything? They just had to repent.
Yeah.
I'm like, well then I can repent.
And then
why do I need Jesus?
Sorry.
Yeah.
And then we found discrepancies in like the gospel accounts. Like Matthew didn't actually write Matthew, and we started really doing authorship and all this stuff, and we were just like, wait a minute, we don't trust the New Testament at all. Throw it out. So then we were slowly like just like pulling back. And so we were just reading, we were honoring a Shabbat, you know, Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. I would make the challah bread and I would cook all the meals in advance because you're not supposed to cook after that. Like we were taking this so seriously. I was looking into head coverings. Like it was the most depressing time of our life. We started
honoring the appointed times. So we completely stopped. That's why I brought up Halloween when you asked about the thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, in addition to growing up as Christian and you're like, oh, Halloween and that is bad, we, you know, all of the traditional, like, I guess, American or Christian holidays, we were just like, absolutely not, because they're all pagan. They all have pagan origins. And we're going to come out and we're going to be set apart. And all of these Christians that are angry, literally angry at us, like out to dinner and they're like turning red in the face. Number one, because we hate these pagan holidays and we're not going to be a part of them. And two, because we honor the Ten Commandments. You have no idea, Crystal, how angry some Christians got at us when we rationalized why we wanted to follow the Ten Commandments, because every Christian would get absolutely so butthurt and like insulted, as if we were telling them like they were bad Christians. They asked us why we follow the Ten Commandments, and so I went down each Ten Commandment, and we would always get to the Sabbath, and they'd be like, "Well, that's every day. It's about your heart posture. Man is not, you know, the Sabbath was made for man, not meant for the Sabbath, or whatever." And I'm like, yeah, but
nope.
But that's not what the law says. It says it literally says to keep it holy, and this is when that time is. It's not on Sunday. That's for the sun god, and that's when Roman Constantine and everything took over, and then the Catholic Church decided to change the Sabbath day, which is interesting. Like that, we as Christians, we still follow these traditions that were just changed by some guy who said that he heard from God. That doesn't sound very cool, and yet now people are just okay with going along with it. And these Christians some were family members, some were just part of our church community that we left. they raged.
Yeah.
Crystal. They were pissed because
But
they
it
took it all
was-
so personally, and we're like, look, this is our journey. I'm not trying to hold you to it, but if you want to honor God, maybe you should think about honoring the biblical Sabbath, like, you know.
But
I always questioned that. Like, even when I was young, it was very confusing to me that there were things that God said in the Old Testament that you will do forever for all your generations. One was the Sabbath, the other was the Passover, and I was like, but we don't celebrate. Well, that's because Jesus came. I'm like, but that's not what God said. He didn't say one day I will give you a lamb and you will no longer have to do this. He said you will do this for all your generations.
Yeah.
And so it like I said, I think I was always asking the questions, but then I think I would allow apologetics or cognitive dissonance to just take over and be like, I think out of fear, you fear Yahweh, you fear his wrath, and you fear hell, and you fear those things, and you think, shut up, Crystal, don't stop asking the questions, just stop it,
Yeah, 100%. And someone in our church community showed us, reminded us of an artist named Paul Wilbur. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Paul Wilbur, but him and his music, he's very connected to Israel, and that kind of led us into this whole new world of Messianic Judaism, or being a Messianic believer, and we were very involved in that. So that's when we were starting to learn Hebrew, lead worship in Hebrew. We were honoring the Pesach. We were doing this Shabbat. I was reading Proverbs 31 every Shabbat over my wife. That was interesting.
So how we moved on from that point, we originally got to a point we're reading Torah every Shabbat, and I'm disturbed by the things in the Torah. I'm like, babe, I'm struggling to reconcile. Like, I follow this God because I was taught he was good. But the stuff in here, this is not good. And I remember the passage, Exodus 32, where the children of Israel build a golden calf, and God is talking with Moses, and he's like, see what these people have done? I'm going to make a new covenant with you and destroy all of them. And I'm like, you just delivered them out of the hands of Egypt. Why are you having a fit? Like, why are you literally about to destroy all of these people that you just delivered? And I'm like, I would never treat our children like this. Why does he do this? And it was terrifying. By this point, we knew that Jesus didn't fulfill any of the messianic prophecies. So we were literally just looking at really considering Judaism at the time. But when we were reading that this God wasn't good, we were like, we can't do that.
Yeah.
We can't do it. So.
Yeah, 100%. For like a span of a couple days, we considered seriously converting to Judaism. We were like, what would it look like to go to Israel, be part of the motherland, the homeland, and everything. And thankfully, because of the timing, we got off that ship pretty quickly. But yeah, I mean, like, once we discounted Jesus, it was like, well, there goes our faith. But wait, like, this God is still here, and this God was the point the whole time. We just worshipped his son, who said that he was the way, but now I don't believe that he's the way, because look at all these people that were forgiven of their sins by just repenting. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to repent. I'm going to do my best to follow his law and walk in his statutes, and not say that the law was death to me, or that it was nailed to a cross like Papa Paul did, but actually live it out, because God said it was not too hard for us to do. And all these people say, 613 laws, you can never live up. That's not what the giver of the law said. So I'm not sure where you got that. But yeah, so yeah, we were considering Judaism after being in the Hebrew roots kind of messianic sect for a while, and then we were just like absolutely exhausted.
Yes,
we were just exhausted.
There was deja vu. I will say this last thing too, because I'm not stupid. Okay, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. Like, I remember critiquing Judaism, and just like Christianity, there's all these different sects, and no one can get on the same page about what the scripture means. And like, I'm literally over here not cooking on Shabbat, and then I'm watching this Jewish influencer that's like, yeah, but it's okay. Like, God knows your heart. I'm listening to rabbis that are like, it's really about growing in the grace of Shabbat. I'm like, why is everything so muddied? Like, nothing is clear.
Right?
Like, I was, during all of this, to add more like fuel to the fire, I was unemployed for 3 months. So I got laid off. And we also didn't have a car at the time. And there's one other thing I was going to say, but that's pretty much, that was it. And
So we had plenty of time on our hands to study.
so much time.
Sorry.
But we were trying to follow the law, and I was turning down job opportunities while I'm unemployed. And of course, my wife is the homemaker, stay at home wife, because we believe in God, and that's what happens, right? Which is just interesting. But yeah, I'm turning down jobs. She didn't go to her friend's baby shower.
Yeah.
Because we can't travel on Shabbat, no lighting a fire, so we can't turn our car on. We're not going to go travel. We're going to spend family time, right?
Right.
And it just became too much. We were just like, this is absolutely ridiculous. Like, if it was worth it, then we would do it. But like, this is just ruining our lives.
Literally, we're depressed, like not well.
Yeah.
And we just had to listen to like our intuition that was telling us like, hey, like, it looks different, but it's the same idea of being controlled.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. When I deconstructed, I kind of deconstructed alone. I don't think I really at first told Doug what was going on, or my kids or anything. I think eventually I kind of told him I didn't believe anymore, but I kind of just started seeing what would happen if I just stopped talking to him, and if I just stop. Am I going to be like, all of a sudden all my bills won't be able to be paid? Will I be, like, what's going to go on if that happens? And then I realized nothing really changed. When we worked hard, we made the money, we paid our bills. If circumstances hit us, we had to deal with those circumstances. There was nobody saving me before, and and so I started realizing that. And then I don't even know, I have no idea how I found the deconstruction community. I don't really remember like the day I found the deconstruction community. I just started finding people like Justin and Joyful. And I don't know if you ever saw Skits and Bits. He hasn't been on for a while, so you might not have seen him. But just these debaters, talking. And I remember learning so many things that now that I've deconstructed, I'm like, how the hell did I not know that before? But I remember hearing them say, oh yeah, like there's two different ways Judas unalives in the Bible. I'm like, what?
Oh my gosh, yes.
What? And then I go and look it up, and I'm like, oh my God, how do I not know that? Like, I've read the Bible. Why do I not know these things that are in the Bible? And then them saying, Justin saying, Jesus didn't even fulfill one prophecy. And I was like, what? What do you mean he didn't fulfill one? Okay, I get it. He might not have fulfilled them all, okay? But what are you saying, none? What are you talking about here, friend? And then I was like, holy shit, he's right. He didn't fulfill shit, and the more like they would say, the more I was just like mind blown, and then eventually like I got the book, Christ Before Jesus.
Yes, it was
Jared
so
wrote
good.
the book.
It was so good.
So good, right? And learning about Marcion, like I grew up in the public school system of the United States of America. I do not know critical race theory. I do not know geography. And I certainly did not know about the history of this church. I didn't know there was a Marcion or a Tacitus or a Pliny the Younger and a Pliny the Older. I didn't know who any of these people were. But when I read that this guy Marcion is the one who just pulled out all these letters from Paul somewhere out of his butt, I was like, why didn't anybody question that? Why do you have all these letters from this supposed very important person to the church? Why were you the keeper of those? Where did you get them from? And it's just like, I don't know. It just all just So I say that I'm still deconstructing because I just think it's a process, a continual process, and I don't care if it takes me the rest of my life. I enjoy, like, even Thinker learns new things. Like, she just taught us, because she just learned that the liver was what was considered, like, what the way we say heart, like, I feel it in my heart. No, they didn't say that back then. They said, I feel it like in my liver. The liver was that central organ, not the heart. Wow. And so that is why I think it is the suffering servant has a liver infection. He doesn't have a heart infection. He has a liver infection because the liver was the central organ to people at that time. And I'm like, see, I just learn new shit like that all the time, and I don't know. So I think it's a continual process, and I love it. Actually, I enjoy learning the philosophy, the science, the history, and I've learned more in this year of being in the deconstruction community that I probably have learned in the past two or three decades about any subject. Yeah. Because, people have me reading more. They have me, diving into things more, going down rabbit holes and stuff. So
was it the kidney? I think Jay just posted that it was the kidney. Was it the kidney?
Is it the kidney? I think it's the liver. It might be the kidney, but we have two kidneys and we only have one liver.
Are they talking? I thought it was the liver. So the verse that says
it might be the kidney.
You can't trust your heart. It's deceitful and desperately wicked, who can understand it? Is it actually talking about the liver or kidney and not the actual heart?
Yeah, I think it is. I would have to watch Thinkers live again that she talked about it on, or even just message her and say, hey, can you tell me about that again or whatever. But it wasn't the heart. And to know that that they always say stuff like, oh, God is in your heart. Guess what? That's not where he is. Because that's not what they believed back then. And that's who wrote this story. So Tahir said, did they feel like they lost anything in walking away? And if so, how did they fill that void?
Of course, we lost everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we lost everything. Everybody that was close to us, all of the relationships. We lost a lot of respect. We lost income. That was, my view is that was one of the motivations for me being unemployed during that time. We lost everything.
I think the follow-up.
How did you guys fill those voids?
Yeah, I will honestly say, I don't know that I would have continued deconstructing if I didn't have Kenan. But we just clung to each other in such a new way. And for me, music has always been a release, and for lack of better terms, like an exorcism in a way, because I'm able to just get stuff out. And I just wrote so many songs during that time about how lonely I was and how disorienting everything was. And in the same breath, because I was a worship leader, I was afraid sometimes to write things that were so honest and challenging God, because I'd spent most of my life singing to him and about him. Yeah. And so there was this weird, I remember it was a period of 6 months where I couldn't sing, I couldn't do anything. I just felt like I had been taught from age 12 is when, the first prophet laid his hand on me and told me that I was supposed to be this worshiper for the nations, all that stuff. And so I didn't know, I thought, was God going to take my anointing away? Was I not going to be good anymore? And so I had all of these fears around it.
Not to mention, just to expand on that, in school, we took, music theory and oral training, ear training. They call it musicianship, but it's basically just ear training. And I remember in 400 level theory, the second to last or the very last unit, at the time, now I've thought about this in a long time, but I think that was a a small seed that led to my deconstruction eventually down the road. But at the end of this this theory class that I've been in for 4 semesters, the last chapter was completely just on how creativity, and because it was jazz focused, so it was a lot of like improv and different kinds of theory stuff, but it was all centered around jazz, and jazz it relies a lot on improv and like soloing and all of that kind of stuff. And the basis of that whole chapter was that creativity in the context of improv and music can only come from God, because God is the only source of creativity.
Oh my God.
So all of the secular musicians that are doing this, they're not, that's not true creativity. You can only truly be creative and use these gifts that God has given us. And the gifts was like the knowledge of music theory as Christian musicians. If you're just that, if you believe in God, if you worship him, and if you use your gifts to worship him, because even a Christian that doesn't use their gifts to worship God, they lose that connection to the Creator, and so it stifles their creativity.
Yeah.
That is wild. It's almost like when they tell you can't have morals because you don't have God. You can't have creativity because you don't have God. What are you talking about? Chaos Engine says, have they done research into the Old Testament, i.e. the pantheon that God comes from, and the henotheism?
That's a great question.
Hopefully I said that right.
I have talked to a lot of people about it. I have not done any in-depth research, but I feel like I have gathered a pretty okay idea, enough at least during my deconstruction journey to just confirm my suspicions about it. I wouldn't be able to debate anybody on it because I haven't looked at it too in-depthly, but the first time I heard it, I was like, whoa, like what is this?
Yeah. And I was also puzzled by, Genesis 1:27, let us make man in our own image. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, who's the us? And they'd say, oh, it's the God, the Father, God, the Son, God, the Holy Spirit. And I was always like, but he made them male and female, and all of those parts of the Godhead are male. So like, you know what I mean? Like I was just always puzzled by that.
Yeah. Oh, another one that's like kind of like out there from what we used to believe is when we read for the first time, like, and like took it for what it was, when Jesus was saying about John the Baptist, if you'll accept it, he is Elijah. And I was like, is Jesus talking about reincarnation? Like, what?
Yeah. What was that?
What?
And I remember John not knowing if Jesus was the Messiah. He was like, wait, are you him, or should we expect somebody else? What's going on here, I'm just wondering, like, can you, like, oh, okay, you're him? Okay, all right, cool. Like, what? What are you talking about?
Looking back, it makes so much sense, because there were so many times where Jesus is frustrated. He's like, how much longer will I be with you? Like, you guys are not getting it. And I'm like, how did they expect us to get it? Like, all these thousands of years later, and like, we don't have Jesus with us, and the disciples still didn't get it. It's like, how were we supposed to figure this
out? Anna says, why would God need a murderer to write laws? Moses was a schmurderer. He schmurdered an Egyptian. And I have to agree. Why would God need that person? Like, God picked, and I know they'll go, that's because God picks everyday people to do miraculous things or whatever. But really, Noah was the best. Noah, really? He was the best, okay?
Well,
so you're telling me that the first thing he does when he gets off the boat is make a vineyard so he could get drunk.
Love
okay,
that.
And that was your best guy. That's who you kept alive.
Honestly, I don't fault Noah for that. To be honest, I probably would have done the same thing.
No,
I'm just saying.
What I've learned is, like, God, like, some people may not like this, but like when you read the Bible, God cares about Israel and nobody else. Mm. Like truly, when you read, especially the Old Testament, and so like if you're not Israel, you're screwed. And so I feel like even, the fact that Moses murdered an Egyptian, it's like, oh, but that was to protect Israel, so we can overlook it. You know what I mean? But if to another Israelite, then that would have been like a whole nother thing. But yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, if you have any more questions, you can ask them in chat or you can come on up. I don't know why you're all scared to come up tonight, but you can ask them in chat. I'll be happy to read those out to you. Keep tapping the screen, sharing out the live, doing all the good things. And if we don't have more questions in a few minutes, we're going to get to the game that you all love to play, the new classic game that I made up. So could I ask a question to them? Of course you can. Reddit atheist, feel free to ask a question. You can either come up and ask them, or you can ask them in chat and I'll read it out to them. All of us laugh at what you love this game, Tahir. You do. It's your favorite. I'm just waiting to see if Reddit atheist asks in chat or if they. It's fun to watch, Tahir said. It's fun to play. Come one, come all. How do you deal with Christians that thinks Christianity is a first religion, like they think it is the very first religion? And that's not the only person I've heard say that. They really believe that there was no religion ever older than Yahweh and then Christianity.
Well, first of all, I will go to Constantine and the hijacking of the worship of the Hebrew God, which is usually the way I'll say it. So Christianity is actually one of the newest, youngest religions, just like if America is one of the youngest countries, right? People would be like, oh, America, oh, Christianity, but both of these things are nothing compared to everything else around it that's it's being compared to. Everything else is much older. But if you want to just say that it was a continuation of the worship of the Hebrew God or a continuation of Judaism, then yeah, we can even still talk about that and then, go back to religions that were much, much older.
Yeah.
But
I remember I had a conversation with my mom where I was like, hey Mom, Jesus never asked you to celebrate his birthday. Why do you go all out for Christmas? Like, why don't you celebrate Passover? Like, I would bring up all the appointed times, and she's like, oh, well, I don't know. And I'm like, that should be an indicator that, like,
and she's
something, right? But I'm like, that should be an indicator that, like, you're not actually connected to this person in the Bible that you read because you don't even honor the things that he asked his people to honor.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
My mom really did not like if I did stuff like that. She thought I was an obstinate little child, and she did not like it that I would question. So I didn't go to her a lot with things like that because I knew it would not be taken very well. And actually, because I told you that I had so my mom that raised me is my aunt. So when I talk about her, I usually call her mom. If I talk about my real mom, I usually define it by saying real mom. My real mom was an atheist, and I didn't know her until I was in my 30s. I finally met her for the first time. But the mom who raised me, she was a Christian, but and she studied the Bible, and she read about the history. She even went to the Holy Land. She did all those kind of things, but she didn't study it the way I literally studied it, right? And so that actually bothered her. Like at one time, she basically told me I was narcissistic because I believed I could hear God.
Oh,
and I was like, wait, what do you mean that you don't hear God? I don't understand. Like, we're all supposed to be able to talk to God and hear his voice. So what do you mean you don't? Like, I couldn't understand her. And she was like, how dare you think that you're freaking Joan of Arc and you can hear him? Like, why would you think you're so special that you could hear God's voice? And I'm like, why would you think you're not special enough to hear God's voice? Wait, I'm confused here. And so that was when I started to realize we're on two different paths on this Christianity thing. You're Sunday and Christmas and Easter, and I'm 7 days a week in this book. I had people telling me like, wait, what are you talking about? You go to youth group on Sunday, you go to church on Sunday, and then you have Bible study on Monday, and then on Tuesday you go to small groups, and Wednesdays you go to blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, yeah, like yeah, like it's my whole personality. It's, it's who I am. What are you talking about?
That was something that was really difficult for me. So I'm glad that you said that. Like it being your whole personality, like your entire persona is being a Christian. I've really had to like discover who I am without this belief in this God, because it wasn't just something I believed. It was my entire worldview. It was my entire personality is a great way to say it. So I'm learning, I'm building up my values and my morals and what I believe about things and how I interact with people and how I view other people and things like respect and all of these other things. Like I never had to think about them on my own. I would just go find a verse about them and then be like, oh, that's what I believe.
Yeah. I also remember, and I don't know if this will trigger me.
Oh, and I don't want to forget, Jay had a great question that I wanted to get to if possible, but go ahead.
I don't want to tap me. If it does, we can stop talking about it. But I remember there was a night, and this was before we started deconstructing, and our date nights were literally like crying out to God and like worshiping, all that stuff, like just absolutely horrific. But I remember there was this one night where Kenan was literally laying prostrate, like on his face and just like weeping. And like, God, like I need clarity. I need you to give me the direction. Like I want to hear your voice, all that stuff. And just seeing him work so hard or to have this close relationship with God, I was like, he doesn't have to work that hard with his relationship with me. Like, why is it that we always have to be begging? We always have to be crying out. We always have to be, as they say, tarrying. And like, it's just so exhausting. Yeah. And so I remember that night, I just like,
that night in a while.
I just like bookmarked it in my brain and I was like, something is just off about all of this. Like, it shouldn't be this hard.
Shouldn't.
Yeah.
What did you want to answer about Jay? And then Jersey will be right with you.
Yeah, Jay said, how do you circumvent your parents still trying to push Christianity on you? This is a great question because it can expand on more than just that specific topic. This has led us to learn about and start developing boundaries and understand how to use boundaries effectively. And it's not something that is exclusive. Everyone gets a boundary. We have boundaries between us. We have boundaries with the kids. The kids have boundaries for us. The kids can tell us no to certain things because
that's right.
It's not my body.
Yeah.
It's their body. And so even when I really have to wipe their poopy butt, I'm going to do it respectfully. I'm going to respect that it's not my body that I'm touching. Specifically, though, about your question about, parents, they don't push it anymore because they know what happens when they decide to push it.
Yeah.
Specifically, a great example I'll give you is we went over for dinner or lunch or whatever, and our kids were getting asked and everybody knew where we were at, but our kids kept getting asked, would you like to pray for the meal? And we were like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
We're not doing that. Don't ask.
Yeah.
Don't ask.
Yeah.
You know where we're at. We don't know. Don't ask to take our kids to Sunday school.
Yeah.
And let us not go to church because we don't want church, but the kids could. No, our kids are not going to church with you. And so at least my perspective, my take on boundaries is, I used to feel like boundaries were something that I always have to enforce and like I have to make people like submit to my boundary kind of thing. But a much more powerful way to administer boundaries that I found and much more effective way is to let people show you who they are and really make the decision for you. So I set a boundary when we first got married with my parents because there's a lot of problems in our relationship, and other than that, his relationship between me and my parents. And
right. No.
And but so my mom would show up unannounced at our apartment. I mean, on the surface, being sweet, right? She'd bring coffee, or she'd always bring something, right? So it was a gesture, right? But I told my mom, I was like, look, like I'm married, I'm with my wife, and I don't want random people coming up to my door assuming they can just walk right in because they know me, even if it's my family. So you're welcome to come to my house whenever, but you have to call me. You cannot
Yes.
come over without calling me. And not even a week later, guess who shows up with coffee? Hey, I'm out at the gate. Can you let me in? I brought coffee. And I was like, don't come over. So she took her coffee and she left. Another time that happened a couple years later, we were living in a different house. And she was in the neighborhood, because we were in the same neighborhood as Christina's parents. And, you know, after my mom went and saw her parents, she just stopped by the house. She knocked on the door. I think you had Zion. Yeah, we had Zion at the time. So you were sitting in the living room with Zion, I think. Regardless, maybe you were just
I
in
don't
the
remember
living
what
room.
you're talking. I don't remember.
And she knocked on the door. I came to the door. I stuck my head out and said, "Hey, Mom, how you doing?" She was like, "Great." And like she like went like this up towards the door, and I just stood there with my head sticking out the door. I was like, "Have you had a good day?" Awesome. We talked for a couple of minutes, and then I was like, "All right, Mom, well, I gotta get back to it. Thanks for stopping by. Talk to you soon." And she was in complete shock. And I wasn't trying to be passive aggressive or anything like that, but I honestly was so genuine. I was like, it's cool to talk to you, but like, you know where I'm at. I don't have to
Yeah.
re-explain it to you. And at that point, it's becoming manipulative, and I'm not going to be manipulated. This is my boundary. You're showing me that you can't be trusted to respect my boundaries, so you don't get as much access to me. You're not going to get as much access to my kids, not because I'm punishing you, but because if I can't trust you to not just call me when I make it clear to you that it's important to me, then I'm not going to trust you to not touch my kids. I'm not going to trust you to protect my kids. I'm not going to trust you to do anything, because I can't trust you with something small. I'm not going to leave my kids in your hands.
Yeah.
You know, I think that one of the things that that I learned from somebody, and I wish I remembered all the people who taught me these great lessons, but is that a boundary that I set isn't for other people. It is for me. It is my boundary. So it isn't what they do with that boundary. It's how I respond if they cross my boundary. And once I learn how to control that, then I'm better at setting boundaries. And it's just simply that. It's what is my response? And the first few boundaries that I really had to set were with my parents, and they are difficult. My real father was a PDF file, and I had no relationship. I was 3 when I was taken away from him, and didn't want a relationship with him. But my uncle who raised me, that was his brother. And I think it was very hard for him to raise his brother's kids and not give him access to the children. Like we were never alone with him, but like let him call, let him write us letters, let him do things like that. And as a child, okay, that's what you did. And as I got older, I began to understand that's his little brother, and it's hard for him to understand what that man did to me. Because he still sees his little brother, right? Like that's all he sees in that man. And he doesn't see what he did to me. He just sees his little brother. Yeah. And at one point, my real father called me. I've never given him my phone number. Like, why is this man calling me? And so I called my mother and father who raised me, and I said, why does he have my phone number? And they were like, oh, we gave it to him. He wanted to reach you. And I said, my brother and sister were adopted from like adoption agencies. Okay. So I said, if their real parents contacted you, would you just give them their phone number, or would you ask them first if they would like contact with their real parents? And she goes, oh, well, no, but this is different because this is your dad's. And I'm like, no, it's not different. I'm the same child. You should protect me the way you protect those other children, and you're not doing it because of their blood relationship. So I'm going to tell you something right now. You never give him my information again, or you will not have my information.
Yeah.
I will never let you have my phone number again if you do not protect my anonymity with this man. And they never did it again. It was very hard for me to say that to her. I was so scared that she was going to say, fine, I don't want you. I was so scared of the rejection, but I was like, no, you don't get access to me if you're going to give access to me away to people that I don't want in my life, you know? So it's hard to put boundaries down with your parents, but it's important, you know. Jersey, welcome up. Did you have a question for Ken and Christina?
Hi, how are you guys? Thank you for having me up.
Doing good, yeah.
So as a pastor, my question is, what is your view on the trans community?
Oh, no, we're not doing debates up here today. These are more personal questions, but if you want to join them, give them a follow. They go live regularly, and they do wonderful topics. And if you want, I'm sure they'd like to talk to you on another live. But no, we're not debating this. Today is just Decon Q&A with CrystalJae, and we're just here to talk and learn more about Christina and Ken. But you guys, you know what time it is?
He's going to be severely underwhelmed by my answer.
I know, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Guess what? I love the trans community. So
Yeah.
Literally, that shouldn't even be a question.
I don't have
Like,
much to say.
It shouldn't even be a question.
Like,
It should not even be a question. I cannot.
what are your view on pastors like you that probably do stuff to kids? I mean.
Okay, reel it in.
Okay.
for real though, for real. It's weird to me that being a pastor, because even the pastors that I did have, like my last pastor, Sheldon, rest in peace. I really feel like he was a good person, and I could never imagine him thinking of coming up and that would be the first question he would ask somebody. He would probably come up and say, so how is your relationship with your mom and dad, or something like that. It would not be, so what do you think about the trans community? I don't know. That's a weird thing for a pastor to think was appropriate to say during a Q&A with people. That was just weird and hateful and bigoted.
Yeah.
I hope you have the day you deserve.
Get him.
All right, you guys, it's time for everybody's favorite classic game, Divine or Decline. Is anybody coming up to join them? Don't leave them up here alone. You should come up, sit up here, and all you gotta do is say Divine or Decline. Usually I get Ty here up here, but she does try to hide from me now and then. JD sometimes comes up, Selena comes up, but today we have Jay. Yay, Jay. Thank you for coming up. Oh, look, we got somebody else coming up. I'm so excited. Denise, yay. This is my buddy, Denise. Oh my God, I'm so happy you're here, Denise. That makes me happy.
Hey, Denise. Hey, Jay. How y'all doing?
I love this game.
Oh, good.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you. All right, you guys, here are the rules, okay? I'm going to read you something. You have to tell me if it is divine, which means it's from the Bible. I use now because I want to make sure I don't get into any copyright problems for playing this game, because I play it regularly. I use a New American Standard Bible. I know it's not the greatest translation, but it's also copyright free. I use the Quran, which is also copyright free, and the 1830 or 1803, I can't remember because sometimes I'm a little dyslexic with numbers, version of the Book of Mormon, and then just made up bullshit. I'm going to read you a phrase. If it's from the Bible, you're going to say divine. If it is not from the Bible, you're going to say decline. None of the points matter. Nobody wins any prizes. This is just for the fun of it. You guys play in the chat. You guys play on YouTube. And let's play divine or decline, okay?
Whose Line Is It Anyway? Did y'all ever watch Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yes!
If I think made up, it don't matter. I love that so much.
That's exactly
right.
what it was.
Hey, Spencer, I see you out there in chat. I'm gonna DM you after the show. We got to get together so you can join Decon Q&A, and let's have you up here. I'd love to interview you, Spencer. Okay, here we go. Is everybody ready?
Ready.
The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction.
Divine.
Decline.
It is divine. Proverbs 1:7. Okay. All right. Very good to hear. See, you should have come up, Tahir.
Wait, I think that if they guess divine, they should have to say what book it's from.
Oh, well, I'm going to have to make it harder, huh?
There's a twist right
Maybe-
there, yeah.
We'll have to do bonus points for if you could pick the book that I
There
got
you
it
go.
from. Okay. Surely God does not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves.
I'm gonna say decline.
I'm gonna say decline too.
Is it divine if it's in any holy book?
No, it's only divine if it's in the Bible.
Oh, okay, then I decline.
Can you repeat it?
Okay. Yeah. Surely God does not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves.
I'll say decline too.
That's right. It's declined. It is paraphrased from the Quran 13:11.
I was about to say that's even more radical than Paul.
Yeah, I thought it was decline.
Every once in a while I'll read something from the Quran, and unfortunately it'll use a word like jugular, and everybody knows right away that it's from the Quran. I'm like, dang it, I can't use ones that say words like that. It's too easy.
That's so funny.
Okay. They did build great towers to reach the heavens, and their pride grew as high as their walls.
Divine.
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 Did everybody say divine? Okay. That's decline. That was paraphrased from the book of Mormon.
You got me.
Oh, we all fell for that.
I know, I was thinking the Tower of Babel.
Yeah.
Okay. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice.
Divine.
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 Song.
That is a song. I used to sing it on the church choir.
It is divine, but it's from Philippians 4:4.
Wait.
Still could have been a song. It might have been a hymn.
It's Paul.
It's Paul. Pauline.
Paul.
Polyester.
Rejoice in the Lord always.
I love how you
again, I
guys say
rejoice.
polyester.
Clap, clap, yeah.
I know, right? I love polyester.
Which again,
Okay.
ironically, is going against the Torah because of the mixed fabrics thing. I think it's just so ironic.
That's even better. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, wait. That's not a mixed fabric. It's just a synthetic fabric. It would be if you
That's true.
mixed polyester with cotton.
Oh, true. You're right.
It didn't say no synthetic
I suppose I
fibers. It just said no mixed fibers.
You're right. I assumed it was mixed polyester, but you could have just polyester.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, the
Schley,
70s are a testament.
I got that song stuck in Schlei's head now. There's nothing worse, I will say, than having a gospel song stuck in your head now. Like, I really hate it. I'm like, why am I singing Our God is an Awesome God right now? What the hell am I doing?
Gosh. Michael W. Smith.
I get
grew
the
up on Michael W. Smith.
hymns
so
stuck in my
anything
head
Michael.
sometimes too.
You get-
Singing, I am God.
I don't mind though.
Song. So
I don't mind having Joel's song stuck in my head though. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus.
He hasn't done that in so long, Crystal.
I know. I missed out.
I get like
If you haven't seen
Old
Joel sing
Testament stuck in
Jesus,
my
Jesus, Jesus, you need to see it because it looks like just like a real worship singer just up there, and he
If
just says it over and over again.
if you go on his other account, his Joel Van Vliet account, Joel Van Vliet personal account, not the Joel Reads Bible, there's a clip of him singing it like when he's doing stand up.
Oh, I'll put it in my channel later so people can see it because I love when he does it. He used to do it, and then we would go, wait, you messed up, you screwed up that verse. Remember? And then
You
he
missed
would
a
go,
Jesus
"Oh,
in there.
Dang it. Okay, let me start over. Jesus, Jesus. But also I
so
love,
good,
you
too.
know, yeah, right? I love it's a good kind of slavery. The good kind of slavery.
I told him.
No, I
told
wouldn't
him,
like
like,
it if it were me.
Wait, Crystal.
Crystal's
you
rocking
should
out.
Crystal, you should do a version of this game where you read like a worship lyric that kind of sounds like schmexual. Schmexual.
We did
And then
that
you
a couple
just-
posts. It was hilarious.
Oh my God, gospel music or like, you know, R&B version.
Yes, literally.
Well,
That
so
would be
Christina, I don't know if y'all see the post that Christina did, but she sang the Sabrina Carpenter bridge to what song is that?
Juno.
To Juno. and it was like, mark your territory, tell me I'm the only. Yeah.
So odd.
And
That is
it's
really
just
good.
like
I might
full
have to
worship
do
mode.
that.
It's hilarious.
Okay. He who walks with silence shall be heard in the halls of kings.
Decline.
I'm gonna go decline.
I don't think that's biblical.
I'm gonna go decline.
That's a Mormon.
That was very good. It was just made of bullshit.
So it's Mormonism.
Yeah, right?
It really could be any
You
of
could
them.
have written the Bible, honestly.
Crystal, I don't know if you know this, but they're all made up.
Oh, man.
They're all bullshit.
It's true. It's all made up bullshit, but this one was made up by me.
Yeah, you have to clarify.
Cap. I love it. Spiritual stack or cap.
Okay, like a sparrow in its flitting, like a swallow in its flying, so a curse without cause does not come to rest.
Oh.
Decline.
Decline.
I don't know, the Bible loves talking about
It's
a good
like-
swallow.
It's either Proverbs or not. I don't know. I'm gonna go decline.
There's a lot of verses about swallows.
Swallows?
Yeah.
Sparrow.
And a swallow.
I got confused.
I think you're thinking of the Quran.
I'm gonna say decline and we'll see what happens.
Decline? Everybody said decline?
Yeah.
Christina, you should have gone with your hunch. It's from Proverbs 26:2. By the way, the swallows return to Capistrano, which is not very far from where I live. Yeah, that was divine.
Look, I'm
Proverbs
still learning to
26:2.
trust my gut after leaving this toxic religion.
Right? Okay. And God is with those who patiently endure, for their reward is never lost.
Decline.
Decline.
It sounds like something that would be in the Bible, but I don't remember ever reading that, so I'm gonna say decline.
You repeat it.
Yep. And God is with those who patiently endure, for their reward is never lost.
No, I'm gonna switch my answer. I'm gonna say divine.
I'm gonna say divine too.
I say decline. I think that's from the Book of Crystal.
That was paraphrased from the Quran 8:46. It is decline.
Wow.
This is a good game, okay?
This is a
It is.
I like this game.
Okay. When he imparted weight to the wind and assessed the waters by measure.
Wait, can you repeat?
When he imparted weight to the wind and assessed the waters by measure.
I think that's Isaiah. So I'm gonna
Divine.
say divine.
Jay, we can't hear you.
Jay says divine and Denise says divine. What do you say, life beyond belief? Oh, YouTube stopped? I don't know why. Oh,
I'll say
I
decline,
don't-
just for the fun of it.
Decline.
If you're rinsing it, I think you use regular water.
oh, I'm sorry. I noticed that YouTube stops. I got, let's see. That's what I said when he imparted weight to the wind and assessed the waters. That's the one I just said, right?
Yep.
That is divine. That's Job 28:25.
Oh my
I
God.
tried to restart YouTube. I don't know if that works, but I tried. If it didn't, I'm so sorry. I'm telling you, my YouTube, I really screw up this YouTube every time. I swear to God. Okay. And they were led through the wilderness by the word of God until they came to a land of promise.
Divine.
Divine.
Divine? I feel like you're tricking me every time now.
Yeah, I don't know what to do.
It's decline. That's paraphrased from the Book of Mormon.
Damn it.
All right, here's the final one. And all the torture will be over. YouTube says testing, but streaming otherwise. Okay, I'm just going to not worry about the end of the YouTube. I apologize to all my friends over on YouTube. Okay. Look at Ty here. Crystal! Okay, it's up, and then I just took it down because I thought it wasn't working. I'm going to put it back up. All right, here we go. All right. Better is a dry morsel and quietness with then. Let me try again. Better is a dry morsel and quietness with it than a house full of feasting with strife.
Divine.
I'll say divine. That sounds like solid.
I decline.
That is divine. That is Proverbs 17:1. And that is our game. How did you guys do? Did you keep score? Are you on the leaderboard?
I think that Christina only read the book of Proverbs when she was a Christian. That's my husband.
It really was one of my favorite books. And I have found that Proverbs
Well, of
trips
course
people
it is,
up
'cause
more.
it's the only one with good stuff in it.
It's the only one that has any wisdom, huh? My favorite one, and I don't actually remember the number, but my favorite verse to throw, you know how like Christians come in and just throw verses in the chat?
Yeah.
Or Christians will just tell you them sometimes, like just like randomly Christians like to just tell you their favorite verses or whatever.
Yeah.
And so there's one in Proverbs that talks about a dog returning to his vomit.
Yeah.
And I love to tell him that proverb.
A dog returning to his mom?
His vomit. A
Ew.
dog returns to his vomit.
Yep.
And so I'm like, oh, here's my favorite proverb, just so they'll go read it.
That's a
And so whenever Christians tell me that, I'll be like, so why are you being like the dog?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, I feel like Solomon, it's written that, he asked God God said you can have anything, and he asked God for wisdom. I genuinely believe that like a modern day Solomon is just someone like on a trip, literally just like high in the sky. Because like when you read Song of Solomon and you read Ecclesiastes, like he's just on another level, like profound revelation, but then also like, what are you doing? It's just
Yeah, for sure.
Did you guys? So the first verse that you read about fear made me think about the verse I think it's in Psalms, where it says that friendship with the Lord is reserved for those who fear Him. Did you guys ever remember that verse?
No, I didn't remember it until you just said it just now, but God loves for you to fear Him.
Isn't that? So I remember reading that while we were, I had read it for the first time while we were becoming the most devout in our faith, but right before we deconstructed. But now looking back at that, I'm like, what kind of absolutely toxic bullshit is this? Like, who says that? Who says that?
Right?
I'm surprised that doesn't come up more when people are looking for verses.
God, if you fear Him.
Sorry.
No, it's true, Denise. It is weird that it doesn't come up more.
When people are looking for verses about a relationship, right, with Jesus, like I've never heard anyone mention that when we say, where in the Bible does it show that God wants a relationship with you? And that would actually be one bring up, and I never hear anyone bring that up.
I'm going to have to tuck it away now and bring it up. That is a really, really good one.
Context.
Well, but even
Yeah.
right. But even Ecclesiastes, like Solomon's like talking about everything is meaningless, like what is life basically, just like absolutely an existential crisis. And then he says, but at the end of the day, fear God and keep His commandments. Like it's still about fear, and that's what people don't realize. Like this is all about fear. When in Exodus 20, when God wants to reveal Himself to Israel, He like intimidates them. He comes as like this huge storm. And the children of Israel are like, Moses, you go talk to him. We don't want to talk to him. Like, and
Don't touch the bottom of the mountain or you'll be instantly killed.
Right. And Moses was like, this is God doing it to test you, but don't be afraid. He wanted to see that you fear Him. I'm like, wait, don't be afraid. He wants to know that you fear Him. I'm like, what?
Yeah. We're reading that right now, by the way, just to plug this real quick. On Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific time, I host Non-Believers Bible Study. We are in Exodus right now. We just read that story, and there's a couple of things that I took away from reading the Exodus story, like starting with the manna. If you read it, he talks about how the night before He gives them quail, and then in the morning there's manna, and they're scraping up white stuff to eat it. And I was like, Oh my God, they were eating bird shit. It's because of all the quail he gave them the night before. They're literally scraping up bird shit and they're eating it.
What?
Because where else did? Yeah, if you read that story, it really sounds like they're eating bird shit. You have to really read it in context now, because he first gives them a bunch of quail, and then the next morning there's white shit everywhere for them to eat.
I'm glad that you went.
Oh, I gotta
And-
go back
and-
and find that episode on Jules.
And it gets stinky and spoils after one day. Well, you know, bird shit gets so stinky.
Oh my God.
They ate bird shit. I'm very convinced of it. And then
Or eggs.
he says, don't touch the mountain. Okay, I don't know if y'all live anywhere near a mountain, but I have mountains right out my back door, right?
Yeah, where's the
Where does
bottom of the mountain?
That's what I want to know. Where am I not allowed to touch? Where exactly would you like me? What rock here is the beginning of this mountain? What are you fucking talking about, God? Yeah. It's not like just a.
That's why they were staying miles away. They're like, we're just be way over here in this valley to be sure we don't touch whatever the very bottom of the mountain is.
All the backstory.
With God's history.
Wait, I can't hear Jay real quick. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jay.
I was going to say it's crazy because all the backstory regarding the books in the Bible, it's left out. So yes, you use your imagination to like, or you don't, because like when I grew up, I didn't believe what they told me. But now that I'm older, I'm like, oh my God, can I put myself in that frame of reference? And that's what the Christians have a problem with. When you start making them have critical thought and be like, wait a minute. I don't know who it was. I think it was a board agnostic just had a conversation with a Christian about Lot and his daughters. And he was trying to bring it to him. And he goes, well, you don't understand. That was how God wanted it. And he's like, but if that was you, would you be okay with it? Yes, if God told me to, yes. And I was like, no, you wouldn't.
Oh, yeah.
You wouldn't. You really wouldn't. You're just saying that that's mouth service right now, but you literally would not be doing any of that crap.
That's crazy.
Exactly. Also, I noticed that the mountain like shakes and has smoke, and I don't know, call me crazy, but that sounds like a volcano to me. I don't see God there. I see an active volcano getting a little, a little bit shaky there for a minute, but
Pillar of fire.
I literally made a video about this probably 3 months ago, but I just went through all of these characters in the Old Testament, and I'm like, you do realize that everyone's life gets worse as soon as God interferes.
Mm-hmm.
Like Moses flees Egypt and he's just retreating in Midian with his new family. Great situation, and then God has to intervene. Like Job is chilling with all of his wealth, his children, and then God has to interfere. Everybody, Elijah was so depressed. He was like, Lord, take me now. I can't do this. I'm so lonely. And it's just why is proximity to this God a terrible thing for your life? If it's supposed to be a good thing.
His own son sweat blood trying
Literally,
to ask him to not be unalive.
Just if there's any
Dad,
other way.
Please, Dad, don't let me die.
But
it's just wild.
Being good, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right, you guys. Well, it's about dinner time for me here out in Southern California. I have had such a good day, and I'm really glad that you guys joined me today. I want to thank you so much. Everybody, give it up for Life Beyond Belief in the chat. Ken and Christina, make sure you're giving them a follow. And Denise, thank you so much for being up here. Sure. Jay, thank you for being up here. Ty here, thank you for running from my game, you little chicken shit. No, just kidding. She's my buddy. I love you guys. My next Decon Q&A with CrystalJae right now, but I think I might have somebody that might book before this, but is El Oso Ray, and I'll be live with El Oso Ray on April 11th at 2 p.m. Pacific time. El Oso, if you aren't following El Oso, I don't know what you're doing with your life. He's hilarious, okay? And he's so fun, and he's very smart. He's just amazing. So make sure you follow me for that and be ready for El Oso Ray on April 11th at 2 p.m. Pacific time. You guys, I've had a great time. I hope you did too. And I hope to see you in a couple months to do this again.
Yes, that'd be
please.
awesome.
Thank
Thank you for
so
having
much,
us.
Crystal. It was so awesome being up on your panel. Thank you.
All right, I'll see you guys around the mean streets of TikTok. Have a good night, everybody. Good night, YouTube.
Good night.
Bye.
If I can close this down, if I could find a way. I can't close it, you guys. We're stuck live forever.